It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. This is the biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred.
Speaking his mind.
I've never had a problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way.
Exploring hot topics.
Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do.
And spreading the gospel of drag racing.
I respect the history. I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. This is the great American motorsport, drag racing.
The Wes Buck Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, March 9th, 2022. I hope you guys are having a fantastic afternoon, a great week, matter of fact. It's a beautiful, crisp day here outside of downtown Fort Worth, Texas. Hope you're doing well. It's, of course, no doubt about it. We've got a barn burner of a show for you today. A whole lot to cover. I mean, we're in the throes of it. Not quite. I mean, it's not July. It's not the dog days of summer necessarily, but the drag racing season is upon us. Full head of steam, all sorts of things going on. We're a couple days away from the NHRA Gator Nationals down in Gainesville, Florida, the legendary East Coast opener. Of course, it's all the talk. Everybody's talking about it. It's going on. I mean, everybody that I know is talking about it. The Pep Boys All-Star, Top Fuel All-Star call-out. Very excited about this. I think we're going to touch on it a little bit with some of our guests today. We got a stacked show, of course. We've got Justin Ashley, Top Fuel ace Justin Ashley, NHRA funny car legend Jim Epler, I believe, is going to join us, I think, as part of that. Maybe a tandem. I don't know if they're together. I don't know what the deal is. Technology, hell, they could be in one in Shanghai, one in Gainesville for all that, all we care. I do believe we're also going to hear from Josh Hart, another Top Fuel superstar. I thought it would be interesting to hear from Josh because he's not in the All-Star call-out. And we'll, for reasons we'll talk about later, I thought it would be fun to get his perspective as someone that I'm sure wants to be in that shootout next year with $80,000, I think $130,000 total up for grabs. We will also be joined right at the beginning of hour number 2 here on the Wes Buck Show by VP Racing Fuel's own Freddie Turza. We're going to do a little tech talk, do a little Q&A, dive into some all things drag racing fuel and lubricants, for that matter. Should be a fun one. We got a lot to cover. Guys, of course, I'm joined, as always, by Mike, Coach Carpenter, which is going to stick. Are you wearing khakis right now?
He's got to win the game first, right?
I got a full lineup of khakis, man.
Are you wearing khakis right now?
No.
For those that haven't seen it, JT, of course, Murder Tundra in the house. You may need to pull that photo up. You may need to find it. Find that photo and throw it in here so that we can let everybody know what we're talking about, right? Because, Coach Carpenter, I think that's going to stick. That's my
coaching debut, man. Rookie coach, whole
7-year-old, 6-year-old basketball.
6-year-old kids, man. Rough season, but it was fun.
Dude, it's rough. It's rough even if you're winning.
I want to remind you guys real quick, and we need your help. Click like, click subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, click that little bell icon. Make sure you get notified each and every time we go live. If you're watching on social media, Facebook, please click share. Help us spread the gospel of drag racing. And please know how much it means to you. Your presence, your involvement, your engagement, your interaction in the comments, your questions, thoughts, concerns makes all the difference. And we truly appreciate you being here each and every Wednesday. Tons of fun having you. So thank you very much. And I would genuinely appreciate it if you'll help us spread the show around. Also, I want to remind you guys that today's show is brought to you by our friends at Stroud Safety, Elite HP, Redline Oil, and Flow Racing. Please make sure to support the companies that support us and bring you the Wes Buck Show each and every Wednesday. Guys, where do you want to start? I kind of want to dive into this All-Star deal. Like I said, everybody's been talking about it. You guys both missed out yesterday. I got to be part of it was at least the first NHRA virtual press conference that I've attended. And I just thought it was an absolutely fantastic deal, extremely well attended. Yesterday afternoon, for those that don't know, the NHRA hosted a virtual press conference with about, 4 or 5 of the drivers that are involved in this coming weekend's Pep Boys All-Star call out. And it was really fun, well attended by the media. And I think that was probably what impacted me the most is there was a lot of media there, guys. And I've heard, I've got a little birdie told me that there's a ton of local media coming out to Gainesville. You guys have both been down there. Mike, the Gator Nationals, kind of near and dear, your and I, Hart. We've had some great memories down there. We've had a lot of fun down in Gainesville. But I think you'll agree that's a part of the country that event, that community has really rallied around the Gator Nationals. And I guess, by all accounts, all this media involvement is proof positive.
Yeah. I mean, it's a small area. It's a college town, right? University of Florida is there. So it's really one of the bigger things in town. And it's hard to get to, right? I mean, flying in there is tough. Getting to hotels tough. So it's kind of this, I don't know, I don't want to say like Woodstock type of feel, but it's kind of off the beaten path there in Central Florida, and they really rally around it, like you said. And we've heard a lot of local media, more of a media presence this year. NHRA even being a little more stringent on their requirements for media credentials and everything, which is a good thing to see. I think the sport is healthy when that's happening, when it's not come one, come all. And they've got some selection to do as far as who's covering the
capacity
race.
Issues, right? Yeah. I think that's really what it is. I think they run out of room, man. Right. It's I got to be honest, I'm genuinely excited to see it as well. That's one of the things that I have missed. Every time I pull up one of those old Diamond P, and please let us know in the comments if you share our thoughts, so you have different opinion. We want to hear from you guys. Your involvement, your comments make a lot of difference on Facebook as well as on YouTube, no matter where you're viewing the show. But I want to say that back in the day, you watch any of those old Diamond P clips, there's like 70 photographers along the guardrail, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's all this media presence. And I know, because I know about the sport, that those aren't all drag racing hardcore. That was a lot of mainstream media. That was a lot of local media. And that's something that, to be honest, I think that media presence, it's a difference maker for even the racers, for the fans. It makes a difference because when you have all that media presence, it kind of adds to the, I say this phrase a lot, but the pomp and circumstance, right? You can feel the significance in the air when there's all these reporters and cameramen running around.
And they've made the upgrades to the facility over time, the new tower. I think that, and I'm not going to quote Brett Kepner on this, but I'm pretty sure that it has the largest seating capacity of any NHRA national event track, and they packed that place out. So it's always a great race. Usually the weather's great. That's going to be what we're battling this year. Unfortunately, It looks like rain all the way up to possibly like midday Saturday, and then it's going to get cold. And if they get to run on Sunday, it's going to be it's a
barn burner.
Barn burner, knocking down the scoreboards, man. Yeah, I didn't want to take it. I didn't want to pay like royalty fees or anything.
Right.
Or you just going to take that out of my check? Or
I'll take it out of your check. Don't worry. So, somebody's shooting Nancy a text.
I didn't have any drinks yet ready for that one. You know,
I've got my nitro cold brew here, number 2 for the day. I'm turnt, if you didn't know.
So we'll see how that plays out. I hope that doesn't put a huge damper on this event, because the thing about the Gator Nationals too is that damn near every class that NHRA has or that's in existence competes at this event. So it's kind of the grand launch of the season for so many of these classes and for so many of these racers, especially here along the East Coast and the Carolinas. A lot of people make the trek down to Gainesville.
I'm excited about it for a multitude of reasons, but this call out format, this has been something that's pretty polarizing. I think, at least from what I've seen on social media, it seems like it's been something that very few people are lukewarm on. You're either all about it, that's me, or you're completely against it, which there seems to be some people. I'm curious, what are your guys' individual takes? I mean, personally, I guess I'll start, shocker, is just I love to see when we borrow things from other walks of life, right? I mean, I've said this a gazillion times, but I believe it rings true every single time. Pablo Picasso, perhaps one of the most prolific artists of all time, he said, good artists copy, great artists steal. And what he meant was that there's plenty of good ideas out there. There's plenty of great inspiration out there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't necessarily have to start from scratch each and every time. And I think that's what the NHRA has done here to some extent. I mean, I don't mean to pat the three of us on the back, but I mean, I definitely point to the World Door Slammer Nationals that, call the chip draw there on the starting line the last couple of years. Joe Costello, one of the voices of the NHRA down there, hyping up the drivers, interacting with people. We got people making bets. And I think that, and that's obviously something with, right here, completely okay to lean into that Pablo Picasso quote that we stole from Street Outlaws, right? We borrowed it from Street Outlaws. Specifically, we borrowed it from Shannon Morgan. We really did. In the Redemption No Prep series way back when. I'll never forget getting a FedEx flat rate box in the mail with a Crown Royal bag in it with poker chips in it that Shannon had sent me kind of as a, here's how we do it. And it was a cool thing because I took that.
It had actual Crown Royal in it.
Yeah, so he was hoping it was full of whiskey. But I took that with me out to Denver, Colorado. And that was one of the, kind of catalysts to that format for the World Series of Pro Mod. And of course, after that, the World Door Slammer Nationals. So I'm excited about it, man.
To watch those racers. The chip draw was awesome, but these call outs are great. I mean, this is when you are you going to have rivalries that you're calling out? Or are you calling out somebody you think you could beat? If you are calling out somebody you can beat, does that guy feel like that he's the last one picked in kickball or whatever? You know what I mean? Like,
we got a great email from NHRA recently, actually just 30 minutes ago or so, with some quotes from each of the drivers on their approach to it. And it's interesting just to see, to answer your question, JT, what the different approaches are. And so some people are like business as usual, and going to take it really kind of diplomatically. Other people, we talked to Mike Salinas last week, are taking it personal and really going to try to take out some long-standing grudges with this deal. So
that's awesome.
It's going to be interesting. And again, to see how it plays out with the weather. Sure. And then of course we've got the funny car deal that will be going on at Indy. So it's kind of the trial run. They're the guinea pigs in Top Fuel, and then we're going to see how it plays out in funny car at Indy.
if you remember, like our chip draw, before we drew the chips, it was cool to see all the drivers were up on the line, like when they were just making tests.
That's the
and
most.
They were paying attention to everybody because they didn't know who they're going to get. So they needed as much information as possible in case they drew so and so, or maybe they're going to draw so and so. And everybody just up on the line. Remember that?
Man! Out in Denver, it was great. I think that the thing that, and we've been talking about this for a long time, and I'm genuinely excited. What's going to be so important is the opportunity that this is going to present the NHRA to have a smaller group of people, right? I mean, because they have a lot, man, you've got a lot of ground to cover. We've talked about this for years, that there's so many winners, there's so many classes, there's so much ground to cover each and every weekend with a drag race that, if you're Fox or if you're any of these television production companies, man, you got your freaking hands full trying to cover a drag race. And especially if you're trying to be even remotely close to fair and balanced, I mean, you've got a lot of ground to cover. You're trying to give him a little ink, her a little ink. I mean, it's a lot to spread around. Here, though, a much condensed group of people, and I think there's going to be an opportunity. I actually heard this yesterday from Steve, one of the guys with NHRA. I can't remember his job title, but he oversees the television production team. He said we're going to have an opportunity to star build. And it was cool because it was a big deal for me personally, because I've never heard anybody in the NHRA in my entire life use those words together. And to hear that and see that they are recognizing that, like, hey, there's an opportunity here. There's only 8. We've got a couple-hour TV show where we can introduce the world to these 8 human beings, these 8 race car drivers, these 8 highly, highly talented high-profile athletes in the sport of drag racing, tell their stories, show the runs from burnout to shutdown. I think that's very important. How much additional value is that going to be for the sponsors? Brands like Redline, right? That's on the side of Top Fuel Car, on Big Fox, not on Fox One or Fox Sport, the Ocho or whatever. Not, only available via Roku, but on Big Fox. We're going to see. This is a big deal, man. I mean, I think it's a really exciting thing for the sport of drag racing, and there's no telling what happens after this. Every sport, every walk of faith, there's an awakening. There's a moment, right? I mean, I'm sure if we dug, I can think of Drag Radial having a few moments. I can think of Pro Mod having a few moments. I can think of Pro Stock having a few moments. I can think of Street Outlaws and No Prep Kings having some moments. There's some moments along the way that kind of started it. And I'm not trying to put too much pressure on anybody this weekend, but if the stars of the NHRA's Top Fuel Eliminator will lean into this a little bitty bit, put their thick skin on, right? Put their dishwashing gloves on, and just recognize that, hey, we're all professionals. We all want to win, but we have to lean into the showmanship part of our sport. We have to lean into the entertainment value. This could be a jump off point.
We've seen all these racers do this too. We've seen them lean into it. And Drag Racing Central makes a good point here. Let's be honest, though, is the driver really making that call, or is it the crew chief? And we'll see. That's another thing you got to look into here.
It's whoever's writing the check. Whoever signs the check is going to make that decision. Guaranteed, each and every time.
Probably going to try to steer him a certain way. But if he's got a grudge against this guy over here, he might just say, "I don't give a shit."
Let's run through that real quick, T. I appreciate you bringing it up. So basically, we have 8 drivers that are participating in the first ever, the inaugural Pep Boys NHRA Top Fuel All-Star Call-Out shootout. We've got Steve Torrance, number 1. He will pick first. I think this is an interesting thing, but we'll circle back to it. Steve Torrance picking first, followed by Brittany Forst, Mike Salinas, Justin Ashley, Antron Brown, Leah Pruitt, Doug Coletta, and lastly, but not leastly, Sean Langdon. How much pressure is on Steve Torrance, right? Because going back to your example earlier, JT, you go to the rec room, right? You go to the high school playground.
Yeah.
You want to be picked first, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on this guy, Steve Torrance, because I actually think there's more pressure on Steve than anybody, because he's the one who's going to have to show his hand a little bit as far as being a bad guy, right? I mean, honestly, because everybody else, those bottom 4 guys, they may get lucky to some extent and not have to kind of put their stick their neck out there. Steve Torrance,
Because they could always say, I was going to pick so-and-so. And
well, but let's call some spades a spade, right? I mean, is he going to say, Leah has not been running very well so far to start the season, right? They've been a little hit and miss here early in the season, brand new program. I mean, I know there's obviously a lot of people that carried over from DSR to TSR, but I mean, is he going to go after Leah, or is he going to try to get one of the fast car, not fast, they're all fast. I mean, is he going to go and try to get one of the top cars out? Is he going to go after Brittany?
I think to answer your question, JT, about whether it's crew chief or driver, we'll see. If it's performance or strategy based as far as the call out,
we're going to find out quick.
Crew chief made that call. But if it's a grudge between two drivers, we know the driver made that call. So it's definitely interesting to see how that plays out. And I wanted to touch on one thing, Wes, to your previous point about NHRA really leaning into this. If you look at the schedule that they built around this deal, Friday at 2:00, they have a group photo in the staging lanes. 5:00, they've got the selections that they're doing then, like what we're talking about now. 10 a.m. on Saturday, autograph session just for that group at the Pep Boys Midway display. Opening ceremonies for the call out 11:30, 11:45 is when the first round actually happens.
You're missing an important one.
Yeah. What did I skip?
Ready? Well, I don't know if you said it, but I was trying to listen. But
okay,
5 p.m. Friday night, when they're doing the call out.
Right.
So this goes back to World Series of Pro Mod. How important is it for these people? First time, they're going to have to sleep on it. I love that.
Oh,
Steve Torrance is going to go to bed knowing who he's going to run. Right? I mean, that is going to give, I think, all of us in the media, everybody involved, a little bit of time, not a ton, but at least an overnight to talk about this, know who they're going to have to face, know who's going to be in the other lane, and all of us are going to be able to pour fuel on the fire, stir the pot. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I think that interesting yesterday, and I posed this question during the NHRA's press conference, I asked, how uncomfortable has this been? Because let's be honest, we've said it here on this show, and it's something that gets talked about a lot. Drag racers, by and large, this is some good old boys and girls. Nobody wants to hurt anybody's feelings. I mean, I get it. Everybody wants to say the right thing, and I'm going to go up there and crush them. But this group kind of struggles to separate the personal attacks from, gamesmanship. And you could see the uneasiness because they've some other members of the media challenged, I think, Steve Torrance, like, who are you going to pick? Who are you going to call out? Yeah. And he doesn't want to say, and nobody wants to get labeled as a bad guy. And I asked him, like Antron Brown specifically, Steve Torrance specifically, some of these guys that are known as being good guys that are easy to get along with, Antron Brown especially. I mean, he's got to be thrilled that he's likely not going to have to call someone out. He's going to get called out, right? Because it kind of goes against his brand. You know what I mean? He's a nice guy. Everybody knows AB's a good dude, So it's weird to put them in this wrestling scenario.
We'll see Brittany call someone out. As long as Steve doesn't call her out, we'll get to see her call someone out, which will be interesting.
I definitely think Mike Salinas, Mike's
all in.
He's going to call somebody out. If
and
he doesn't get called out,
here, he's bringing money too. And that's what'll be cool too. Like if they really, which Mike's already said, he's going to lean into this. I mean, I think we got that impression when he was talking to us last week. So, and he's bringing money to bet, which is even better. I mean, let's put some more stuff on the line here, right?
I think it's cool because these, if it would almost be better if there were some challenges with the weather where we like go out there and it's everybody's off the trailer hit. Because I have no problem with that. I think it would be pretty cool for it to be.
That would be even more like legit grudge style. You know what I mean? It would take away any more of the refinement that we could add to this. And I think that the more raw that it is, the more real it's going to be.
I have to believe if Mike Salinas isn't called out by Torrance or Force, which I think is not an impossibility, he's going to have to be gunning. I see this in the comments from Brian McCaddy. He's got to be gunning for those Coletta guys.
Oh yeah.
Right. He's going to go after Doug Coletta or Sean Langdon. However, I don't know about you. I don't want to race Doug Coletta really in anything.
Mike's riding high right now, and he's high. He's on a roll, and he feels confident doing that, I'm sure.
If Mike Salinas is going to call out somebody from Coletta Motorsports, who do you guys think he's going to call out, Langdon or Doug?
Doug, because of that whole the swap that they did.
Well, Langdon's involved in that deal too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. maybe if it's strategy, we could see Salinas go for Langdon, but I feel like he's going to go for Coletta.
Man, if it's a pedal fest at all, you definitely don't want Doug Coletta in the other lane. That guy's demonstrated on a multitude of occasions
the weather's dicey and it's great
But Sean Langdon is one of the best levers top fuels ever known. You know, a legit high level sportsman racer.
What if all the call outs are done and we get down to Justin Ashley and his only person that he can call out is Antron Brown?
I think that's actually a potential scenario. Don't you agree? To see some teammate on teammate crime.
Yeah, I do. They don't want that first round for sure. But
I'm going to run through it because I'm trying to figure out. So like, let's say Steve Torrance. I mean, if Steve's got to call out Leah, right? I mean, there's some history there. It seems like they've always had a little bit of a made for TV rivalry. Do you think he's going to try to take out Grubnick in as a crew chief and Brittany Force as a very competitive car and get them out of the way?
No,
I think he's going to try to get around.
He's calling out.
He's hungry. He's hungry for a win too.
Steve's calling out Leah for sure.
Yeah, and he's never. Side note: I don't think Steve, for all the winning Steve Torrance has done, has he won one of these shootouts? I don't think he has. Steve Torrance winning the specialty. Oh wait, okay, he did win the specialty race in 2017. As well, he doubled up. Actually, he won the U.S. Nationals and won. I think it would have been in the Traxxas shootout in 2017. How
about this? Going back to Doug Coletta. Doug Coletta is a veteran of Top Fuel specialty races, making his first appearance in 1998. He has advanced to 6 final rounds in those 14 appearances, winning 3 of them. Woo. So it's like, to your point, that you may not want to. I don't think
you want to race Doug Coletta. I think Doug will be last picked. Like he's a last picked kind of guy. So if Steve Torrance calls out Leah, right? Brittany Force, who's Brittany going to call out? I mean, she's got a really fast car.
Langdon.
I think she calls out Langdon. I think she just, and then she could also kind of lean on the fact that like, hey, I just wanted to go after a bottom seated car. You know, it's nothing personal. I want to go after a bottom seated car. So say that takes out Langdon and Brittany. Mike Salinas gets down. I mean, is he going to call out Justin Ashley, Antron Brown, or Doug Coletta? I think that if it's personal at all, he's calling out Doug Coletta. I mean, if it's personal at all.
And I think he's kind of alluded to that. So, I would be surprised if he didn't at this point, you know.
Well, so that leaves it with Justin Ashley and Antron Brown having no choice.
They're going to race each other.
Let's put some bets. I think the money, the smart money says that we just did it. And I think that Ashley and Antron end up going head to head. And that's, I mean, hey, not all bad because a team's going to go on a round. You know, they consider one another teammates. So one of them is going to advance. And I think that's probably how they'll spin it, but it's definitely not what you want.
These guys, I think they're going to try to mix in strategy and grudge rivalries. So like in the case of, we talked about Brittany Force calling out Langdon, that fits that bill. Torrance and Leah. I don't think Torrance is going to just forego all strategy and go for Brittany. You know what I mean? I feel like they're going to work that in and maybe they'll meet the second round. And if that happens, so be it. But I don't think they're going to go for that straight off, you know, straight rivalry or whatever.
I think that we're going to see, here's where I'm at. And this is it's been a tough thing, and I've seen it kind of manifest in a lot of different ways. There's something's going to happen this Saturday that's either going to be the start of this fruitful relationship and shared burden between the NHRA and their star drivers, or this is going to be, I mean, I feel like it can go one of two ways. We can see these guys lean in and make it a personal thing, right?
I hope they do.
I hope they do, because it could be the start of something magical.
And you can't say NHRA needs to do more and give us more opportunities and all this stuff, and then not lean into this opportunity.
And then they try, and you don't support.
But I'm worried about it, man. I genuinely am because I'm telling you, I was on that conference call yesterday, and I mean, I think this adds some excitement to the whole deal. Are they going to play along? Are they not going to play along? I don't know. They had 4 drivers, and I'm sure people had other commitments. But I mean, yesterday on this conference call, it was Steve Torrance, Justin Ashley, Antron Brown, and Sean Langdon and Doug Coletta. So there was 5 of the 8, which I think was a victory.
That's pretty good.
5 of the 8, pretty good. But I'm just hoping and praying that these guys recognize the opportunity in front of them, because if they don't, you're exactly right, Mike. For years we've heard racers, we need more sponsors, and we want to be superstars, and we want to have more fame, and we want to be able to generate more interest and get more attention from the media. Well, there's an opportunity right here. to do exactly
how
that.
most
And it may start some rivalries too. I mean, if you do call that person out, maybe they hold on to that for the rest of the year.
I would hold on into it for the rest of my life.
I know you would.
And
your face is right now. I mean,
no, I mean, I would hold on to it forever. And these are the things that our sport needs so badly, and I couldn't be more excited about it. Where this could take us and what could happen. I mean, these are really, everything has these jump off moments, and this could be a huge thing for the sport of drag racing, where these people, we get to see a different side of them. We get to see them let it all hang out a little bit. And like I said, I genuinely hope these guys accept the challenge, right? Accept the challenge and lean into this. We got a comment here from Brian McCaddy. There has to be someone willing to take on the role of the bad guy. Heels versus babyface used to use wrestling terms generate the most compelling storylines. And Brian McCaddy is absolutely right. We've been talking about white hats and black hats for 10 years here at Drag Illustrated. And that's 100% correct. And that is a tough thing. And I've seen Steve Torrance at times start to lean into the villain role. It's tough. It's a tough place to be. It really is. And I would never, ever, I don't take it lightly. I know nobody wants to be.
He wins enough that it makes him almost a villain, right?
It does.
I mean that happens.
It's like the Yankees, right?
Villain
I mean,
is a hard term to say in racing, because he's not a villain. It's just that, do you
wins
side with him or not? Yeah.
Right. And that happens
and everybody loves an underdog.
And I know Kyle Busch, he's a crybaby a little bit, but he's
your dad's a huge Kyle Busch.
But a lot of times, he's hated a lot of times because he wins a lot,
right.
as well,
Well, and that's the case. I mean, I think that it's hard. You have to accept it and know it going in. Like, hey, they're going to paint me a bad guy. We've seen it on No Prep Kings. We've seen it on Street Outlaws, like Chuck on Street Outlaws and No Prep Kings. I think they have made a conscious effort, the production studios, that he's going to be one of our villains. He's going to be a heel. He's going to be a guy that people, and he's going to spit in people's faces and slap people and start fights. And obviously we don't want to see this deal, devolve into something like that.
Hated because he's an asshole. Well, yeah, I agree with that as well. But it's also because he wins a lot,
It is. I mean, he's hated. He's leaned into that. That mentality. I'm not saying it has to go that far or fights or whatever we're talking about, but just lean into the fact that, hey, if you're on top, and bonus points if everyone else is coming after you. It's lonely at the top. I think everyone wants to be on the top, win everything, just dominate and have everyone love them. And it really, those two things don't go hand in hand.
Tom Brady, you love him or hate him, right? And I mean, it's part of it.
I think it's
Michael Jordan.
John Force may have been the only one that's been able to pull that off for this whole time. John Force of just winning, especially during his run of just consecutive championships, where he was just basically unbeatable.
He won every championship for a decade, essentially, in funny car. And I remember, though, however, my dad didn't like John Force. I remember growing up, my mom liked John Force. She was a big fan. My dad didn't like him, but not for any reason other than he won all the time. It was not because he was a bad guy or whatever, some interview or something he said. He just won all the time, and my dad got tired of it.
Cruz Pedregon broke his streak, right? Or was the one champion in between there in the 90s that won. Do you remember how popular he was? McDonald's card, that everything was cool also, but him just popping onto the scene and winning that championship, kind of breaking it up or whatever. And I think Tony Pedregon, right, was the other one that was inserted in there, but he was a
part of JFR,
So but it was like we just want anybody else, and it's like your point with Brady. It's like we don't care who it is. As soon as Brady loses in the playoffs, it's those march safe from seeing Tom Brady in another Super Bowl.
They show the map. It's like this whole everybody here, almost the whole United States is rooting against.
Don't you think that this is there's some truth to this, and this goes back to that point we've made in the past about how a lot of these drivers kind of have two existences, right? They have they're a race car driver on the weekend, but Monday through Friday, they're also a business owner. Beans says on YouTube, and thanks for following along, I think it's hard because some of these guys have businesses to run at home, so they can't be hated too much. Great comment.
That's
and
true.
I think that there's some truth to that, right?
It's different than being a paid driver and not having to go.
So the opportunities here really exist, I think, for Brittany Force, Leah Pruitt. I mean, there's some big opportunities for these people that are full-time race car drivers, that this is their job. This is an opportunity to stand out, to really set yourself apart from the crowd and be a personality, be a character. That's what I want to see. I want to see some character development. Steve at NHRA's production team, I mess up his last name every time or I would say it. Mike, you may be able to say
TV
it.
Steve.
TV Steve at NHRA. Thank you for that, Murder T.
I'll be here.
He used the phrase yesterday, star build, and I like that, but I want to see some character development. I don't feel like we know nearly enough about this list of people here. We know Steve Torrence has got 51 wins to his credit and 4 world championships. We know Brittany Forrest is a second-generation drag racer. We know Mike Salinas is an independent businessman. We're learning about Mike. We know Justin Ashley's a second-generation racer, but we don't know enough about them. I don't think we know enough about their nuances, their personality, how they handle situations such as this. And this is going to be, we're going to get to peek behind the veil. And I hope NHRA has got a camera in these people's faces like 24/7, because that's what we need. I want to see Brittany Force's reaction if Steve Torrence calls him out. That's the opportunity, because not only do we need to see the runs from burnout to shutdown, we need to see the reactions from these crew chiefs, from these drivers. I want to see the look on Leah Pruitt's face if indeed Steve Torrence calls him out, her out.
When we saw this in Orlando, we saw it when they would draw the chips and then they would go back and forth on the microphone a little bit. They would make like these little digs that were kind of a joke, right?
Yeah.
But then we heard later, like, was it a joke? Was he joking with me? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's because here's at the bare minimum, we're going to get some like highlight reel gold. We're going to get an eye roll. We're going to get a sigh.
I think you're going to see that in the pits, though. I hope that we've been hearing rumors that NHRA has a documentary in their sights, and I'm hoping that there are like additional film crew or something that will capture that stuff, because the cleaned up stuff that we're going to see on Fox or on the NHRA broadcast is going to be, it's going to be, hey, we're just racing the racetrack, other lane, that type of stuff. Yeah. But the like strategy discussion in the pits and things like that, even if it's after the fact, even if we get some kind of special a month from now that shows behind the scenes of what actually happened during the call out or something like that, that shows us some of that real drama, that's what I would be excited to see. And I hope that even on the Fox broadcast, we get some of that, like you're saying.
I believe we will. And if we get the call out itself, from what I understand, I believe like maybe a 2 hour or an hour and 45-minute special that they're going to do around the call out itself. Again, I want to remind everybody that I believe the call out portion of this whole deal is slated for Friday night. So this is going to be 5 o'clock Friday night. We're going to get to see all these folks find out, who's who and who's going to run who. I can't wait, man. Friday night, if there's not a camera on this group of people's faces, I wonder if they've got what Mike, do you have any insight as to what the inner workings of where they're going to do this? Is this going to happen down on a stage on the starting line?
It says staging lanes. Well, the photo is going to be on the staging lanes. I imagine that the actual call out is going to be on the starting line. Let me look and see if there's any details on that.
Or maybe
no, it doesn't say. It doesn't say where. I would imagine they roll that stage out like they do for the driver introductions or for the winner circle, and have it on something like that.
Who do you want to hear? It'd be great to have Reinhardt and Costello down there. I'm sure Loans will be on television duty, so they won't be able to get him. But this is a huge opportunity for all those people.
Joe and Alan will be out there running that deal.
Because it's like, okay, so Friday, 5 p.m., NHRA Top Fuel selection. Steve Torrence gets first selection, followed by next highest seater driver. Okay, yeah, they don't have a location here on this schedule. I'm looking forward to it, man. These people, this is such an unusual, rare air for these folks, right? Such something completely unusual that I don't think we've ever seen them do before.
If it's raining, though, on Friday, I wonder what they do, what plan B is.
I wonder what plan B is too.
Condense it all into as soon as
track
this is like dry on Saturday.
My day is made. I just got a text from Don Garlitz. Lots of rain predicted, right?
Yep.
It's like, lots of rains predicted.
Bring the umbrella for sure.
That's such a bummer, though.
Right? Are we going to see Don there?
Yep, Don will be there. That's what I texted him. I said, hey, just confirming you'll be down there this weekend at the Gators. Yes, for sure. Lots of rain predicted. And I don't know.
I can surely find a place to do it if it's raining. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah. There's some, and this is Stan Waxberg. Doug Coletta has the personality of paint drying. I think that's part of the problem is when has there really been an opportunity for us to get to know Doug? I mean, not very few people are great in a climbed out of a car covered in sweat and clutch dust or whatever and can kill it. That's what's crazy scenario,
about Doug Coletta, though, is that every single person out there is afraid of this guy, doesn't want to race him. Even Tony Stewart said, like, this dude is a badass behind the wheel of a whatever. What was it? A sprint car?
A sprint car.
Yeah.
He can drive anything, man.
Yeah.
He's a legitimate race car driver.
Right.
And I kind of think, again, going back to character building, star building, lean in. It's okay.
He's
if
like
you can
Clark
kind of
Kent,
be
you know, he's got the glasses and
quiet guy. That's okay.
And the combed haircut, right? And he's very soft spoken, but then he's deadly behind the wheel of basically anything he sits behind. So
Wes, tell them to give you the microphone down there for this deal.
Oh God, we'll never get it done.
Somebody outside of NASCAR or of the NHRA, you know, say whatever they want to say. You know, get them stirred up. Stir the pot.
He'll have them too stirred up.
Huh?
I will. I have it too stirred up, man. I really think that this could be
make them feel sorry for you. Be like, hey man, would you please give me a microphone?
Yeah, please, somebody hand me a microphone. I tried yesterday, to be honest. I tried on the NHRA Zoom call, and I thought everybody really did a great job. Like, there was a lot of awesome comments and a lot of great one-liners, but you can sense, me personally, I feel like you can sense that this is just uncomfortable. This is not something. CM Punk and The Rock, they're used to this, right? They're used to being pitted against someone. They're used to a storyline, but you could sense through amidst the entire crowd of people there how unusual this was. And I think that it's all the more reason, like, we don't ever. Yeah,
you know
I agree.
I mean? Yeah,
I agree,
like,
but it is an unusual thing. If you've done something a certain way, though, for, in some, like Doug Coletta's instance, 30 years.
But at the same time, you bitch that you're not bigger than what you are. So whatever you've been doing for the past 30 years isn't working, right?
I don't think Doug has that argument. You know, Doug,
he may not,
like,
but others do.
He's happy with what he's done and the way things are. But yet he loves these specialty races, has been in more of them than anyone. He loves to just go out and let his work on the track do the talking. And so, but hey, that's a personality you can build around if you are smart about it. But and then you've got guys that go the opposite direction. It's going to be interesting as hell for sure. I'm excited about it. And we'll see how it plays out with weather. I think that they'll condense it all into Saturday. And I think that there's a way to do that. You may lose some of the autograph sessions or whatever, but there's a way to get it done.
There's actually this comment here, fly-in boosted GT from No Prep Kings. That's actually not a horrible idea. I think that's actually a pretty fantastic idea, to be totally honest. And that would be, you know, but going back to what you were saying, Mike, Doug Coletta has also been in this deal longer than anybody on this list by like 3 times, right? I mean, I don't know that any of these people have been. I heard a stat yesterday that I think Antron, the first time Doug Coletta raced in one of these shootouts, Justin Ashley was like 4 or 5 years old. Right? I mean, if that. I mean, he's been around for a hot minute. So it is interesting. It's going to be fun to see. I really think that this is probably the most
of these, you know, this is a veteran field outside of Justin Ashley. These have all been at it for quite some time. Even like Sean Langdon, he's been dude,
he's a world champion.
Yeah, he's a world champion. He's been doing this since what? The early 2010s was when he jumped in Top Fuel, right?
Yeah, he joined the Al-Anabi team, right?
Yeah. So
I mean, you've got Steve Torrance, 4 world championships. You got Doug Coletta. You know, Sean Langdon is a past champion. Antron Brown's got what, 2 or 3? 2. I mean, there's a lot of heavyweights in this field right here. I don't think you could ask for more, to be honest. The only thing, you know, if Tony Schumacher was in here, but what I'm just glad that we're going to have this, and I'm anxious to talk to Josh Hart here in a little bit and hear kind of his thoughts, feelings, like from the outside looking in. I think he could actually provide us a unique perspective, like what this would mean to sponsors, because that's something that also can't be overstated, is how important this is going to be to some of these sponsors. This is probably some of the most significant television time these guys maybe have ever had in their career.
That's true. That's something to ask Justin too, because he's going to be on here with a sponsor,
right?
You know,
absolutely.
Talking about, and they can both speak to what this means to them.
Do you guys have a professional? Oh, I'm not sure what this.
There's
a couple of questions. I'm sorry, I was trying to follow along. I can't read the comments. Every time I try to read the comments, like live as I'm doing, I get all derailed. So, JT, you'll just have to.
Question for you guys: do you agree with Slam and Sam that it's professional modified?
I'm not sure what that means.
I must have missed this.
I think I must have missed it as well. All right. Well, hey, we got a lot to cover. There's other things that I wanted to touch on here just briefly. Before we dive, we're here in a few minutes, about 20 minutes, I believe, or just under. We're going to be joined by VP Racing Fuels, Freddie Turza. If you have any questions, technical related questions, please feel free to throw those in the comments. I have a handful for him. I'm anxious to hear, as someone who's been around the sport for a very long time, I'd love to get his take on just the health and wellness of the sport. That's what I think we're seeing across the board here is just drag racing on the rise. I mean, if everything that we're talking about, there are obviously some exceptions to this rule right now, but it feels like drag racing's hot. And I don't know about you two, but there have been times in the past that I've gotten frustrated feeling that maybe I missed drag racing's heyday. You know what I mean? Thinking about
that.
But everyone reminds us that we're in the heyday now.
We're in the heyday
even
right now.
Some really I don't want to say skeptical, but some really tough customers would tell you that
I think this season's going to be. I think this season's going to be fucking.
Yeah,
awesome.
As long as this whole deal with the gas prices and everything going on in the world is the new headwind that we have coming at us. We talked about this on our conference call yesterday. That everything was lining up. COVID hopefully is in our rearview mirror.
Oh, they turned that off.
Yeah, and everything is trucking along. We're bracing for this exciting season, and now we've got a new headwind that we've got to face. We'll see how that plays out in the long term.
Well, and
we've been here before, though. That was my argument yesterday. We've been here before. We kind of went through this in the 2008, the economy crashing, that recession, high fuel prices, and we thought that was the end of drag racing then, or was going to be. That's what we were told.
I'm of the opinion that
we're still here. So,
if you look at the investment these folks make, right, and that's being made and has been made, you're too far gone, right? If you're worried about if gas prices, I'm talking specifically about professional level drag racing, but I think it goes all the way down to the bottom because I know guys that have true 10.5 cars or 6.0 index cars that are every bit as hardcore as Mike Salinas or Steve Torrance, right? No matter where you're at. And it's also, we talked about this a lot, but everybody thinks they're the baddest dude alive. And I'm going to back Brett Kepner up on this. Brett Kepner apparently was a guest on the Going Bracket Racing podcast last night. His words were fuel prices will not affect drag racing participation, and drag racing is healthier today than it ever has been.
And Brett says that, take it to the bank.
And I agree wholeheartedly. We have seen it time and time again. I don't want to say that our sport is recession proof, but people are they're too far gone. They're too invested. You already have a truck and trailer. You're paying insurance on it. You're paying someone to drive it. You're going to use it. And again, like we've talked about the NHRA, the times they've made a bad move or they've done something that people kind of were upset about. They've at many different junctions, I truly believe the NHRA has succeeded in spite of itself at different times. It's not, I truly feel in my heart of hearts that drag racing where we're at today is a direct result of the uniquely passionate people that exist in this community. I don't think, we saw it during COVID. Other walks of sporting life and other hobbies were vanishing. Right? They were just not doing them. They stopped doing it. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do all these activities. People put them on pause. But people in our community, the drag racing community, found ways, right? Dug deep, did whatever they had to do to continue racing.
And like you said, on pause, because basically everybody did, right? Every company we talked to, let's pause, right? Well, the drag racing community goes, oh shit, I got some time off to work on my program. I'm ordering parts.
Yeah.
And then everybody realized real quick, we can't pause. People are ordering stuff, and at the end of that year, everybody had their best year ever.
How many people did we hear coming out of 2020, coming out of 2021? We were up double digits, double-digit growth.
30%.
Huge growth from
the
year to
demand
year.
Was there. They couldn't even supply enough parts, to meet the demand, was the problem, so, yeah, the drag racing community definitely leaned into it.
And here's continue another great comment from Going Bracket Racing. The fuel price last year was $3.69. This year it's $5.09. That cost me $28 more to go round trip 200 miles. $28 isn't going to stop me from going drag racing. And I think that there's a whole lot of people that feel very much the same. That it's I'm too far gone. If I was trying to save money or if I was trying to do this on the cheap, I wouldn't have started in the first place. I feel like the bigger issue that's going to exist in 2022 is supply chain issues. We hear it time and time again. I mean, you go to the grocery store, you can see it. I mean, it is very obvious that it's getting harder to get stuff. People are getting behind. I mean, we've talked to multiple of our customers here at Drag Illustrated that are telling us their biggest issue is getting their hands on raw materials. And honestly, I still think manpower is as big of an issue as exists as anything, because getting help right now is extremely difficult. I talked to a lady in the checkout line at Walmart the other day, said that she was a school teacher. 40 teachers called in sick on one day. 40 teachers at a local high school called in sick on the same day. It's a new world as far as that, the workforce is concerned. And I think supply chain issues and workforce, that's going to be, that will be a much bigger issue for this particular community.
Here's what they're going to do. Instead of the picture that we get on Facebook of the rig parked at a gas station, right? They're gonna take a picture of the gas prices, get it out of their system. It's like hitting a bad shot in golf and throwing your club. You get it out of your system and you move on. So that's what we're gonna get. We're gonna get a, FJB, post at the gas station how much it costs to fill their rig, but they're going.
I know how much everybody's spending on gas right now. I don't know about you guys, but I know. Facebook, right? I heard somebody this morning. I spent $91 filling up my tank, and I'm like, man, I got to tell you, and I'm not trying to be.
Just post your receipt. Everybody just take up.
I'm driving. I'm going to get gas regardless. So I mean, you can bitch about it all you want, but it's still going to cost you the same price when you go to the pump, whether you bitch about it on Facebook or not. So get over it.
I agree, man. And why not be thankful that you're thrilled you're getting to do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just glad that I can afford to put gas in my vehicle, that I've got a vehicle, because I sure as hell did not want to walk to work today. What'd you say?
Just don't raise rum and Coors Light too much.
That's the only thing that
run into real problems around here.
However, you're just like going bracket racing. You're not going to let $28 stop you from going partying this weekend, right?
No, because partying is too much fun.
Interesting thing too, we have a newfound appreciation for having fun. We have a newfound appreciation for leaving the house. We have a newfound appreciation for going drag racing. So I think that's something that's going to play into this as well. We're all willing to pay a premium for our freedom and our right to travel. I don't think we're going to see it affect the sport of drag racing too much. I mean, maybe this summer or the dog days of summer, whenever it might be cheaper or easier to go to the lake versus going drag racing, especially if you're out of the hunt or if you've torn up a bunch of stuff. I think that we'll see it perhaps after when the countdown begins. I'm not totally sure, but it's a possibility. We'll see what happens, man. It's an interesting time to be a part of the sport of drag racing, and I think the best time to be a part of the sport of drag racing. I really do.
Yep.
All right, guys, let's get ready here for the second hour of the Wes Buck Show. I do want to remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety equipment, from drag chutes and seatbelts to fire suits, gloves, and blankets, all 100% made in America. Log on to StroudSafety.com and make sure you tell them your friends from Drag Illustrated and the Wes Buck Show sent you. Guys, while we get ready for our first guest of the day, Freddie Turza from VP Racing Fuels, we got a couple of Door Slammer series. We're very Door Slammer centric group of guys here. We could talk about a lot of this stuff. First off, let me just throw this out there. How bad do you want to see a shootout in Pro Stock? Do you think there's any chance that the NHRA could bless us in future years with the return of a shootout?
Depends how this goes, right? I mean, if this goes well, we'll see it. We'll see it across the board, I think.
I think so. I just hope it's not a, hey, if you want this, you got to bring your own sponsor type of thing, where they make them do that again, because we've talked about how Pro Stock is more of this independent union that kind of brings things to the table, whereas Top Fuel and Funny Car, it tends to work more hand in hand with NHRA. So I think that it would be awesome to see them bring a shootout. NHRA come to Pro Stock with ideas and a sponsor for a shootout. And like you said, T, it all goes on how well this one and the Funny Car shootout in Indy go.
Yep.
Yes, I think we got to see a Pro Stock shootout. I mean, especially there's a moment in time element to Pro Stock as well, right? We've got some legends that still exist in the sport. Greg Anderson, right? Erica Enders. We definitely want to make sure something like this happens.
Tons of rivalries right now.
Before, people start retiring or whatever could come in the future. You just never know in this day and age. And I think that that's a really important thing. But I want to touch on this. We've seen the entry list for NHRA Pro Mod expand the last couple of days here.
Yeah, what's it look like now?
We've got a full field at the moment, gang. We got 16 cars, J.R. Gray, Justin Bond, Mike Thylene. That's a team that I'm actually not familiar with.
Stealing. And that car, it's a good-looking car. Did you see that? In a good-looking rig. I think it's a Mike Janis power deal, or maybe it's a program.
Actually, you're right. I have seen this. Yeah. It's a Mike Janis car. Jason Scruggs also on the list here. Chris Thorne, Jericho Balduff, Dwayne Wolf, Khaled Al-Belushi, Sidney Frigo, Tyler Miller. That'll be a fun one. Driving Ricky Smith's second car. Doug Winters, Lyle Barnett, Stevie Jackson, and Jose Gonzalez, your reigning champion. It looking much better than it did a week ago, guys.
There were some names like Belushi and Stevie weren't on there.
We're not on the list. Yeah. Seeing Mike Castellana. I would love to see Mike Castellana make the full pull in 2022. That'd be a great thing to see a real legend of Door Slammer drag racing participate at all these all 12 stops.
Like the late additions to the list. Why were some of these guys like Stevie, Belushi, some of these guys, Castellana, why were they not on the list until this week?
Probably because they don't have someone that's on the payroll, that does it, right? You know what I mean? That's my genuine.
We're going racing next week. We better get on that list.
It's upon us. We got to make sure that we've entered. Also, it may be one of those deals where didn't know what the entry fee was, because I believe the NHRA Pro Mod series is still using that sliding scale where the entry fee for Pro Mod is based on how many cars are participating. Sammy Eubanks is asking about Salinas. Mike Salinas told us last week here on the show that he would be there. So we may have enough cars. 17, there may be 16, 17 cars, which would be a great spot for NHRA Pro Mod to land, in my opinion, after everything that has happened the last couple of years. If they could have a full field down here, they're going to have one hell of a show at the Gator Nationals. I know the forecast maybe doesn't look great, but I would get a ticket just in case, because, man, this is going to be...
it looks great for the cars right? that are able to get the power to the track and make a full pull. It's going to be nuts.
Don't ever trust Saturday the weatherman, guys. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to
especially in Florida, especially in Florida too. I mean, come on.
Yeah, my gosh. I remember one time Wes was going to race in Florida. I was going to Tyler Crossnose race
in Memphis. Yeah,
and yours looked like it was going to be completely rained out the whole weekend. Mine looked perfect. I think it snowed on me, and you had perfect weather.
Yes, it was like 70 and sunny in Gainesville, and you sent me pictures from Memphis, and it was snowing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's just a reminder.
Yeah, it is, because, I mean, I think the weather forecast that weekend looked worse than this one.
Probably so. Yeah. I think that was the year that my Trans Am got stolen. I almost didn't go.
You almost went with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Gainesville, there's the historical significance of the Gator Nationals. Holy crap. It's just one that you don't want to miss. I honestly considered staying home with the whole arm thing and everything. I thought, you know what? I probably better stay back. But I know. Hi. And actually my shoulder hurts as bad as my arm does, dude. It's crazy. But I just don't think this is one you can miss. I'm supposed to be wearing my sling, but it's just super uncomfortable. I got it. I'll put it back on. Hear me.
High fives him in that position. Oh man.
Gosh. That'd be JT. He would probably do that. I would not at all be surprised.
Like somebody has shoulder surgery. I'm just horrible about that. I walk in a bar, I'll be like, hey man, what's up? I just
oh my goodness.
You're that guy.
Oh, you're that guy. Yeah. Especially so excited about
aim to do it. Yeah.
Please don't. Actually, my arm hurts just hearing you think about hurting me. Like, no, please don't.
We just got to
near you.
Did you guys see this? We just got a sneak peek from Chase Freeman of over 1,000 copies of Drag Illustrated on their way to Gainesville.
My man.
Cool.
How about it?
Shout out, Chase.
Yep.
Thank you, Chase. Yeah, huge shout out to Chase. Thanks very much, man. It's hard getting magazines to the racetrack. It's always like a unique challenge. Who are we going to ship them to?
Yeah, we've been doing
who's going to carry them for us? Because, man, shipping them to the racetrack can be a real challenge. Then you don't know where they're at, or they get delivered to the wrong place, or oh my goodness, all the unique difficulties.
PRI, we used to ship them to John Force's shop, and then drive over and pick them up. And
no, you're not supposed to tell anybody about that.
I believe we got Josh Hart's checking in right now. I'm still waiting on Freddie. Let me see make sure.
Really wasn't supposed to say anything about that.
What's that?
Yeah, we might get a wrist slap on that.
For what?
Who cares?
I'm just kidding. We used to, hey, It's a bootstrap deal, man. We had to do whatever it took to get those magazines.
That's right.
To PRI.
We really did. It's I remember sneaking them in the back door at PRI. I really did.
I've got a great.
I had to pay the guy. Yeah, I had to pay the guy at the dock.
Speaking of that John Force, I have like the best John Force story of all time that I hope to tell on the show at one point about those magazines. You guys know the story, but it's a barn burner.
Good story. Way to leave everybody hanging.
Yeah, no, it's a long story.
Yeah.
We'll have to dedicate.
Dedicate
some time to it.
I've got a
secret. I kind of want to.
Is this that? Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I kind of want to know. I may need some help here, JT. Can you check in with Freddie?
There he is.
There he is. There he is. There he is. There's my man. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, real quick though, guys, you know what? We can do this with Freddie, actually. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a rousing round of applause for VP Racing Fuel Zone, Freddie Turza. Come on, clap, you guys. Mike, JT, you guys got to clap. Coach, okay, there we go.
What's up, Freddie?
Yeah, what's going on, Freddie?
Come on, guys. How we doing?
Man, we are doing wonderful. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. You know, excited here listening to you guys on the show. Great show so far. Glad to be a part of this. Looking forward to
glad to have you.
Looking forward to the Gators. You know, be a big event. First one swing back east. Everybody's pretty excited and pumped up. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're over the moon excited about it. I'm curious. You know, I see VP Race. You guys have such a. I can't imagine the task of, I've talked to our team about this a lot, is we're so laser focused on drag racing, but a lot of our customers, a lot of the companies we work with, not only are they involved in drag racing, but they're involved in power sports, they're involved in stock car racing and sprint car racing and all these different forms of motorsports. Looking around the whole scene right now, Freddie, and being a part of the automotive aftermarket for as long as you have, racing and high performance, what do you make of where drag racing is? Like, if you had to do a state sport right now.
I think, you know, I'm going to say that I think it's really healthy right now. And the reason why I say that is, you know, you go out to an event and I think there's 5 drag strips within an hour radius of me here in North Carolina. So you can head out to any drag strip on a given Friday or Saturday. And I mean, there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of race cars out there. National events seem to have sparked a lot more interest here in the last year, ever since COVID. A lot of people are coming out. I think it's really good. Across the pond, you know, I do a lot with international drag racing, and it's healthy right now, guys. You know, it's really good. It's good to see it.
It is good to see it. We were talking about this a little bit earlier, and I don't mean to put you on the hot seat, but like, if you turn on Fox News, CNN, any news channel, you talk to anybody right now, you get on social media, all you can talk about or all you can see is gas prices, right? Everybody's talking about how do the situations like we're seeing overseas right now with Russia and Ukraine and the rising gas prices at the pump, how does that affect VP Racing Fuels? How does it impact gas prices, like high octane racing fuels?
Well, I think to some degree, any of the components that are used, most of the components are all first generation and they're hydrocarbon based. And, you know, as those components come off of a distillation tower or an alkalization unit, you know, it's no, how can I phrase this? It's not any, the prices continue to rise, okay? Because the fact is they all come from a crude oil source. You know, at VP, we like to pride ourselves saying that the majority of our components all come from the United States of America. You know,
which is awesome.
We do import some from Canada. There's some coming in and out of Canada, but for the most part, we're a USA based company.
I think people, that's like a genuine question. We hear it a lot, like how are gas prices going to affect racing this year? We've seen so far, we're hopeful that it doesn't impact participation. Perhaps maybe people stay a little closer to home, but by and large, it would appear that racers are going to find a way to race, right? I mean, they may, instead of a cross-country tow, they may stay at the tracks closer to home. But by and large, do you agree that most of these men and women are going to find a way to maximize their investment or go at least have some fun and smoke tires on the weekends?
I agree. So yesterday I was on a corporate call with everybody from San Antonio corporate office, and I think I think the majority of us all agreed that that's exactly the scenario that we're going to see transpire probably around June. That's just my guesstimation, right? I'm saying we get to June, there's going to be some guys that are going to draw a line on the asphalt or the concrete and say, I'm going to stay home. I'm not going to venture off to this, a different event somewhere else out of my home location.
Let's talk a little bit about NHRA Pro Stock. This is a class that I believe you have an affinity for. VP Race Fuels has had an involvement with several of these teams over the years. You've paid close attention to it. I'm just curious, what do you make of this newfound interest? I mean, this was a class a couple of years ago. It, by all accounts, was on its way out. And here we are headed into 2022, and it would appear to be one of the strongest categories across the board in professional drag racing. It's been a really fun turnaround to see. Is there anything that you point to as having driven the bus on that? Is it all about reducing the schedule, or what has it been?
I think, Richard Freeman was probably one of the guys that kind of like really got after it really hard as far as pro stock. Hey, let's make something great out of this. And I got to give him and his group, a lot of credit for it. A very, very long time ago, when I had an affiliation with Jenkins back in the day and was traveling to some of the national events with him and Steve Johns and Carol Hine and just helping those guys out and with, I can't even think of half the guys we were working with back then. Gordy Rivera, it's pro stock was a lot of fun, and then as the years went on, it became more and more expensive. And I have a great relationship with Victor Cagnazzi. Did some stuff with the Grays with Shane and Tanner. And then it kind of like fell off for a little bit. And now we're seeing a big spark and a lot of interest in pro stock. I was definitely not for the fuel injection. I was old school. Love seeing those Dominators on those cars.
Me
those
too.
big hood scoops. So, yeah, I was a little bit about, I don't like this class anymore either, because it's just, I know the money that was spent, the team spent to do what they needed to do to be competitive again. And then it's no big secret. There was a big change in the fuel, the spec fuel. That also caused a lot of problems. Teams had to spend a lot of money to get the power back to where it needed to be. But now we're looking at it, and you're seeing a lot of teams coming back, and like I said, Richard's been he's been just on top of it when it comes to the category.
So whenever they bring in a spec fuel like that, NHRA brings in a spec fuel for any of these classes, do you guys? I mean, I know that you still work with a lot of these teams, dynoing and whatnot, and there's a lot of different, uses for this stuff. It's not just on the racetrack, right? But I'm just curious, like, does it immediately kind of turn your focus elsewhere? I mean, because there's so many places to go race right now, right? We talk about this a lot, that one of the issues, it's like a double-edged sword. There's so many great opportunities for heads-up drag racing right now. The Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Series is doing extremely well. Mm-hmm. Carolina Extreme Pro Mods. You've got the PDRA rocking and rolling. The Midwest Drag Racing Series. I mean, my goodness, there's the NMCA is doing extremely well. There's all these big, there's still a few big radial tire races that exist. There's a lot of places to go drag racing right now. Does it just go, you know what? There's plenty of opportunity for us to build our brand and sell product and take care of racers?
I think every racer, every type of racer, from the Saturday nights here at Farmington or Piedmont Dragway in the 8th Mile, through the PDRA, the NMCA, all those, or every racer is very, very important to us, and we'd like to have some sort of relationship with each and every one of them. And it means a lot to us to be hands-on at the racetrack, helping them in any way that we can to support their efforts. But I will say this, and I'll make this statement, and it could be, guys might want to argue about it to some degree, but the NHRA is in fact the pinnacle, right? Everybody wants to race at a national event. Everybody wants to be on that big stage, even for a short period of time. And I think that's important, that everybody at some point has that opportunity to do that. That's just my opinion.
You know what? I agree. And it's a tough thing to, I mean, especially like if you're in the promotion business, and I've had to like this, it can be a tough pill to swallow, but it's hard to argue with 70 years of rich tradition and success and the significance of a Wally, an NHRA Wally still to this day is the highest honor that exists in the sport of drag racing. And I don't care, it doesn't need to be a political thing. It's not a choosing sides thing. It's just the fact of the matter that the NHRA is our major leagues.
Right.
Exactly. And that's why we really do try hard to encourage people, no matter where you are or where you exist in the sport of drag racing, where you're at in this community, you've got to, I don't want to say kiss the ring, but you got to tip your cap to what's going on there and what they've done and what it represents.
Absolutely, 100%. And there's the doomsdayers out there that say they won't exist. This pro stock's going to go away. This is going to go away. NHRA is doomed. I think that the NHRA has proved most of the majority wrong, right? Like, hey, they're still here. They're still, car counts are growing, and
it's clearly doing something right. Doing something right. I'm curious. One of the things we've seen, like the NHRA Pro Mod division, for instance, one of the things that's been a recurring theme the last several weeks is they've had a lot of issues in the last the last season specifically with participation. And we've kind of pointed to the fact that nitro is really strong headed into 2022. Your top fuel and funny car categories look really good. We're going to likely see 20 cars at several races, 20 plus cars at several events this year. So it makes sense to us that the NHRA not be too concerned about what's going on in Pro Mod because nitro is so healthy, right? I'm just curious, these fuel prices, I heard recently that like a 42 gallon barrel of nitro is $1,600 or something like that. Is that something? Do you see nitro racing, funny car, top fuel? Is this a sustainable thing with all these going green efforts and everything? Like, are we still going to be burning nitro a decade from now?
Well, let's just, if we can talk about that for a minute, let's look at the facts. The facts are that particular fuel comes from China. Okay, nowhere else but China. So it can be difficult at times. You're seeing rising prices in this product because of not the product itself, but the freight getting it here from Shanghai. Okay, it has become more and more and more difficult. So when we look at that now, I understand that NHRA has stepped up to help some of these, to help the teams, help the nitro teams with a rebate program to help the cost, try to keep the cost down. And I would think that they're doing the best that they can. But there's going to come a time, I would say, that we need to analyze this a little bit closer, right? And that the fuel provider, the official fuel provider, should have enough to get through the season and then the following season. But then normally what happens after that is a little bit of an unknown.
It's just an interesting thing to talk about. And you have to wonder, I look at that, you see all all the excitement, it would seem, around the EV, electric vehicles and whatnot. And I have to at least ask myself, specifically with nitro, because I want to believe that we're going to be burning gasoline long after I'm dead and gone, right? The infrastructure, in my opinion, isn't there to support this. We're not going all electric tomorrow. It's not happening. I mean, it's just, there's no chance, in my opinion, but especially with nitro. And I start to think about the cost prohibitive nature of nitromethane, how dangerous it is, hard to get, all these things. And I start to wonder, as healthy as nitro racing is right now, do we have to start thinking about what comes next, or what this is going to look like 5 years, 7 years, 10 years from now? Because I kind of going full circle here. That's why I think classes like Pro Mod are so important. And I hope the NHRA doesn't just get excited like, hey, funny car and top fuel fields are full. Screw all them other guys, right? We don't need them, because everybody believes nitro sells tickets, and it does. I think nitro is the ultimate ticket seller. There's no doubt. But do we need to be paying attention to what could, I'm not saying replace, but what could be the next thing if there does indeed come a time when nitromethane isn't a feasible option?
Wes, I swear we had this conversation in the last week or two. You're actually reading my mind here as I sit here at my desk. I've put a lot of thought and effort into this, trying to be somewhat proactive on this. sometimes you just don't want to think the worst, right? You don't want to think about that, but there's times when you have to prepare for the inevitable, right? And that may never come. And let's hope that it doesn't come, and hopes that we can continue on the path of what we're doing.
Yeah, from your mouth to God's ears. Yeah. Let's hope it never changes.
Right. But what if it does? What are we going to do as an industry to fix that issue? I will make this comment that there is no other molecule like that nitromethane molecule available at this point. Not saying that there couldn't be some development into developing an alternative fuel source that would have similar characteristics as that particular molecule, but there isn't one that I know of at this time.
And it's interesting because I see at least, and I think for those that maybe don't tune in every Wednesday, it's no secret that we here at Drag Illustrated, we're big door slammer guys. We're big fans of door slammer drag racing. But one of the recurring themes, the things that we hear people talk about a lot is Mike Salinas was on here, NHRA Top Fuel team owner and driver, on here last Wednesday saying, we've got to find a way to get the cost in check. We've got to find a way to make Top Fuel funny car racing less expensive, right? Very, very difficult deal to do. We've heard people talk about smaller fuel pumps, single mag. There's been all these conversations that have been seemingly going on forever. I think initially there was some belief that going from 1,320 feet to 1,000 feet was a step in the right direction, right? Being a little safer, obviously trying to be safer. But as was predicted, they just found a way to shorten the fuse, right? They just found a way and now we're right back to 330 mile an hour trap speeds. We're right back to guys putting fresh bullets in after every run. I mean, it doesn't seem like cost-saving measures are really working out at this moment in time. And I do get concerned because I don't want to I'm not a negative guy at all, but I just wonder if we have to at least be cognizant of the fact that while things are good right now, and we've got more Top Fuel and funny cars than we need, and it looks very healthy, and it maybe will be for the next couple of years, if things don't change, we don't want to just completely let these other categories, I point to Pro Stock and Pro Mod specifically, right?
Right, yeah.
We don't want to just kind of let them fall to the wayside because things are good, right? With our fuel classes, we better take care of those. And I get a little bit worried when I look at the entry list 2 years ago at Gainesville. We were talking 40, 50 cars could show up. There's 16 entered right now.
Right. And look, I'm no expert when it comes to fuel racing. Some people do consider me some sort of a fuel expert, but not in fuel racing. But I'm a fan, right? I'm like anybody else. I mean, I hear a nitro car fire up. I make sure that I swing by there and, catch a little bit of the fumes, and I enjoy it. It's exciting. It's exciting for the fans. I think those are some questions that I couldn't answer for you that maybe some of the professional category owners would have. And I'm sure they have these discussions, right? I'm sure that they're already like, hey, what are we going to do? How are we going to curb some costs? Everybody's been trying that for a long, long time, whether it's circle track racing or drag racing. And then the sanctioning body steps in and they try to put these rules together that are going to, quote, save the racer money. And in my experience and in my long career in the sport, I've yet to really see that work the way that they want it to work. And so yeah, I don't know. I think that there are some issues that are lurking out there that we probably as an industry need to start to address. You mentioned smaller fuel pumps, single magnetos, kind of getting back to the basics, but the technology doesn't wait for anyone. So whatever happens, there's going to be a reaction to that. And I think you've seen it. Good example is Pro Stock when we were carbureted, right? Everybody spent a lot of energy, a lot of money, a lot of development for those carburetors. Well, when we switched to fuel injection, it was the same thing, right? Nobody stopped spending the money to go Pro Stock racing. It's probably more now than what it was. And I understand that there was various reasons why they did that, but long story short, sometimes as racers, we are our own worst enemies, right? We're just we'll do things and because emotions drive us, because the sport is very emotional, whether it's drag racing, circle track racing, motor, anything, right? It's an emotional, category, really.
We got a question here in the comments that JT wanted to throw up. Freddie, can you confirm or deny what we have heard? Nitro is still being manufactured maybe in the United States, but the company will not sell it for motorsports post the Oklahoma City tragedy and Homeland Security stuff.
That would be correct. They would be basically spot on right there. Yes.
Wow. So it is because
being manufactured here, however, is not for racing purposes.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable how it's like the lessons we teach our kid. One bad apple can ruin it for everybody.
Absolutely.
Right? Sure. It really is a sad state of affairs. I want to touch on a couple of other things here just really quickly. I know that you guys, I identify you, Freddie, as the technical guy at VP Racing Fuels. I actually have heard you called a fuel expert, but I understand that you're spearheading the new lubricants division. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm working in cooperation with Richard Glady. So Richard came to us, and I want to say approximately 5-6 years ago, and Richard has a history of being an oil guru, we'll call him, right? In fact, and it's probably way before your time, but when Don Garlitz was connected with Kendall Oil,
yeah,
Richard was the guy, right? He was the guy that developed that first 70 or 50 or 60, whatever straight weight oil they were using at the time. That was his brainchild. So,
wow.
Getting involved with Richard here the last few years has been good. It's been a lot of fun. It's challenging for me. I'm by no means an oil expert. As a professional engine builder, I know enough about oil to get myself in trouble. So I have to rely on him and Dr. Salter and some of the others that are actually, the guys that are behind the scenes actually building the products. So, and I think you just found out that we just launched our Pro Stock oil. Okay, that was, we did that in relatively short time with Titan Racing Engines and Camry, and we're excited about that. It's our first shot in a long time at a Pro Stock style oil.
Is that exciting for you? Like, I know you have a history with Victor Cagnazzi, Gray Motorsports, right? Is it fun to be kind of back involved in that pro stock arena? And my goodness, what can you say about Camry Caruso? That young lady has come out swinging in 22. I mean, clearly she can drive a race car. Got Jim Yates standing behind that thing, leading the charge. Really impressive. Very rarely do you see someone, a rookie, make that kind of a hot start in pro stock.
We've been working with the Caruso family for about 4 or 5 years, and they're great people. They're great people to work with and to partner with. They do an excellent job for whoever is on board with them, and it's just exciting to see this young lady get out there and get after it the way she's doing it, and for as quickly as they put that team together and the engine program, it's exciting and it's fun, right? It's
almost unheard of.
Fun. It's got to be fun for everybody involved, right? So yeah, we're excited for her, and we're excited to be just a part of that team for sure.
So let's touch on this just real quick before we cut you loose, Freddie. And again, I want to tell you thank you very much for your time and everything that VP Racing Fuels does for Drag Illustrated and the Wes Buck Show. We appreciate your support, our mission to grow and build the sport of drag racing. When you look around the industry right now, I mean, what's your schedule look like for 2022? What kind of events are you looking to take in this year? Anything that you're particularly excited about or particularly excited to attend?
Well, of course, this week coming up will be, a huge event. I just came off the NASCAR event at Fontana, where we have a lot to do with track prep. Okay. And as that continues to develop, something that we all are very familiar with on the drag racing side of things is track prep. And, in the last few years, NASCAR has gone that direction, and they've upped the technology, and I've been learning a lot working with Goodyear Tire, working with NASCAR. So I just came off the Fontana event, go to the Gator Nationals. I'll probably do some smaller scale events, and I'll probably eventually here at the end of March head over to Santa Pod in the UK for the main event for the FIA. It'll be their kickoff for their big series over there.
I understand this Sanapod. We met a guy on Sick Week, one of the drag and drive events that we participated in earlier this year, and they just went crazy about Sanapod. How many times have you been over there?
I've probably been over there at least 10 to 15 times in the last 10 years, I'd say.
Well, I'm told that they do as incredible of a job as anybody as far as like running a show and entertaining with a multitude of different things. Like if there's an oil down, they've got something else happening, a rock concert or a Ferris wheel.
It's impressive. It really is. I mean, Keith Bartlett over there and his team, Darren and Caroline, they do an outstanding job when it comes to entertainment, right? Because at the end of the day, we're racers and we're part of the sport, but at the end, we're still in the entertainment business, right? And
yeah, absolutely.
They do a fantastic job just by everything that you said over there when something might go haywire or wrong. I mean, the fans still get their money's worth for sure.
Yeah, I think it's when you look at, let's just touch on this. It's been the topic of conversation, the Pep Boys All-Star call out this weekend. Are you excited to see, I mean, as excited as the rest of us to see what this brings out of people? You talked about the entertainment value. We're all competitors. Everybody wants to see the integrity of the competition maintained, and we don't want to see a scripted outcome. But man, leaning into the trash talk a little bit, letting some rivalries develop, we're excited. You?
I agree. I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out, right? How it all going to work. And I was here the other night just trying to piece it all together because we're creatures of habit, right?
Yes,
so
sir.
we all go through the same process. We show up, we go through qualifying, and then we wait till Sunday eliminations. And this is kind of throwing a little wrench into the whole idea, right? Because it's different. It's something different. And it's probably a good idea to try something different. I think we're seeing it on the NASCAR side with the new car, right? The next generation car. I hated it.
Absolutely.
I thought this is a dumb idea. I can't believe they're doing this. Oh my gosh, they're getting rid of the 9-inch Ford rear. They're doing this, they're doing that. Well, I like the car. I like the looks of the race car, right? It's totally different.
Me too.
It's modern. And it's like they did their homework on this, and I should not have second guessed them. So I'm going to go that same, take the high road with NHRA and say, I'm not going to second guess anything that they do. They're going to try to improve and get better. In my meetings, as in your meetings, we listen to some of the NHRA hierarchy and they tell us certain things and it'd be like, okay, well, let's give this a shot. Right. So they're trying. And I think that's a good thing. Right.
I agree. That's and at this stage in the game, I think that's all we can ask for, right? Is an honest effort to try some new things, some outside of the box thinking, and see where things shake out, man. Well, Freddie, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time this afternoon with us. We'll have to do this again. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the racetrack this weekend and anywhere else our paths cross in 2022. Hopefully, more often than not.
Absolutely, and thanks for having me on, Wes. I'm looking forward to this weekend, and I'll see you at the racetrack.
See you at the Gators, brother. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Man, JT, I got to say, I love the opportunity to have these candid conversations, right? I told Freddie yesterday when this whole thing came about, it was like, we don't have to go into this thing with a whole bunch of hardcore tech questions. Let's just see where it goes. And there's some interesting stuff in there about this nitromethane conversation. We're going to have it like over the course of a couple of hours, right? I mean, I think we're going to have to pour some time and energy into that. You're muted.
How about now?
Yeah, you better now. You're back.
Yeah.
You're back. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, hey, real quick, before we introduce our next guest, I'm trying to draw up oh, my goodness, JT. I'm not quite ready. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a minute to remind you all that the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by our friends at Redline Synthetic Oils. Redline has a reputation with racers and hardcore enthusiasts for creating products that perform and protect better than any on the market. And they've been doing it since 1979. Whether it's your race car, your tow rig, your motorcycle, or your lawnmower, when you think about lubricants, you need to think about Redline. For more information, log on to redlineoil.com. JT, I want to touch on this real briefly just with you, how important it's going to be and how cool it is to see some of these logos. And we'll talk about this. We'll have this conversation with Justin Ashley and Jim Epler here in just a moment as they join us. I'm curious how much of an impact this is going to make to have these logos get so much TV time. right? I mean, most of these guys, you're hopeful that you're going to get 10 seconds here or 20 seconds there. And I know there are racers out there that keep track of that type of thing. Being involved
you have to sponsors,
right?
know?
It's going to be cool to see some of these companies represent, given a moment, more than just a fleeting second here or there, given a real opportunity to get some measurable impact. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and check in with Justin Ashley. He's getting to be a little bit of a regular here on the show, man. And I believe he's got Jim Epler with him as well.
Yep.
Justin, Jim, welcome to the show, guys. What's going on?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having us on. We appreciate it.
Are you like steady in a hotel room 24/7, you two?
Jim,
not the same one though, right?
Not the same hotel. Well, the same hotel, but not the same room.
Thank goodness, man. So I take it you both are already on the grounds there in Gainesville, getting ready for the Gator Nationals.
Okay. Actually, we're not. This is, we are at our largest for Phillips Connect trade show of the year here in Orlando. So this is part of what our plan was for Justin, is to not only have him at our largest trade show, but also have the car there. So it's just been a huge success, and of course Justin winning the Winter Nationals and all the press we got. It's just I got to tell you that the attention that we got at the show with the car and having Justin here has made this thing a real success. And then we talk our customers into staying a few extra days. They're going to come up to Gainesville and check out the race. So it's we're in the trucking and transportation business, so we got a lot of fans, and we're creating certainly a lot of Justin Ashley fans. So it's going to be an exciting weekend.
It feels like that, Justin. It feels like, for as accomplished as you are, Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30 alumni, Road to the Future Award, Rookie of the Year on. I mean, what do you make of this? Feels like it's been something of a coming out party here in 2022, right? I mean, we're seeing your face more and more active on social media. You've got a big new sponsor. Are you feeling that way? It just feels like this whole thing has ratcheted up its intensity, the Justin Ashley Top Fuel experience.
Yeah, I definitely think it has. I mean, when you really look at our program as a whole, our goal going into 2022 was to really lay a foundation. So we wanted to spend last year laying a foundation for the next 10 or 20 years. And I think a large part of that was not only 2020 and 2021, but what we did in the off season. And we really wanted to grow on and off the racetrack. And obviously a large part of that was getting to work with Jim Epler, getting to work with Amber White and Rob Phillips and everybody at Phillips Connect to take our program and our partnerships to the next level. And then in terms of our on-the-track performance, bringing in people like Tommy Delago, bringing back Mike Green, and continuing to increase power and put ourselves in a position where we're not qualifying 4, 5, and 6. We're not going to the second or third round, but we're qualifying 1 and 2, and we're winning races, and we're in a position to win a championship, because that's the ultimate goal. And I feel like this year that's all kind of come to fruition early on, and it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's going to be a long season, but we know with partners like Phillips Connect behind us, with the kind of Davis Motorsports team that we have, that, we're really confident we're going to be in a position to compete for a championship down the road this season.
Well, let's ask the question everybody wants. Given the opportunity, who are you calling out?
Right through it, Wes.
No, I'm just joking. I was just going to put you on the spot.
I better be ready. For a question.
No,
I mean, I'm not number one. So
I think you're going to have a legit opportunity to call someone out. I'm of the opinion that you may not love who you have to call out by the kind of my guesstimations here, but I want to talk about the entertainment value here of the Pep Boys All-Star call out. And I read an interesting thing, Jim, because I want both of you guys to riff with me on this. I read that when you made the decision to move up from Top Alcohol to Nitro, it wasn't like this logical progression of, we're having all this success alcohol racing, let's go nitro racing. It was more of, from a business standpoint, of if we want to get big time dance partners, we've got to be at the big time dance. We have to race at a professional level and go nitro racing. And so you did. And the rest, as they say, is history. A lot of accomplishments, a lot of firsts, a lot of big happenings. When you look at this through the lens of your business, or from the promotional standpoint, or the value to a sponsor or to your own company, I mean, are you excited to see this kind of increased focus on the entertainment aspect of our sport?
I've always been a huge fan of the sport. First of all, even, after I quit, 20 years, it's gone by, pretty fast. But, when it was hard to quit sportsman racing. Sportsman racing was a lot of fun. The alcohol funny car, which I drove, was a lot of fun to drive, like Justin did. And, but to your point, I had to be part of the big show, and it became a lot of fun to do marketing in NHRA. One of my biggest thrills, honestly, is bringing customers and new fans to the track that have never been there. There's just nothing like it with the, the access to the teams and the drivers and the cars. And, that I still get a huge thrill out of that, so.
There's nothing like bringing out someone to the races for the first time.
It is. And, the accessibility, NHRA has been just great to us, and, getting our CEO, Rob Phillips, on the starting line, it's just, he loves this, in anything, motorsports and action. And that was big, and we got a lot of fans. We're going to bring a lot of new fans to the sport as well, which is, again, that's part of the whole magic to NHRA. I was in NASCAR for a bit, with Joe Gibbs Racing, and it just wasn't the same. So I'm really excited to be back. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of that is the access? Because you see, obviously there's huge visibility opportunities in NASCAR. There's a lot of money over there. It's obviously a very expensive place to play, but there seems to be big opportunities over there as well. Do you think it's that access that where it's drag racing just feels a little bit, a little more open air than the NASCAR, IndyCar type of world?
Oh, no question. It's not just the access to the cars and the pits, but the drivers, and, for Justin to be, mingling with all our guests, and, he comes to a lot of events, and, that just doesn't happen. In fact, when we were at NASCAR, rarely did we even meet the drivers. Very rarely. It's just the way
they're like locked away in a closet somewhere, can't be bothered.
Yeah. God, Joe Gibbs was the star. Fortunately, we had Joe Gibbs, but so it's I think that makes all the difference in the world. So and people just can't believe you could get that kind of access to these kind of vehicles they see on TV, and the stars and who the people are and the personalities, and they're like real people. It's pretty cool.
It is cool. Justin, one of the things that I hear about you, polished young man, charismatic young guy, right? But very polished, very put together. Is this kind of this shootout, call out type of thing? Is it uncomfortable as it looks? I brought this up yesterday on the NHRA Zoom virtual press conference, which I thought was a real success in my opinion, side note. But it feels like it's kind of an uncomfortable position to thrust a classic good guy like yourself into, right? Because you may have to be a jerk here, right? If you want to win, you're going to have to pick, you're going to have to call somebody out. You may be put in that position. Has it been as awkward as it has looked kind of on the outside?
Wes, it is so uncomfortable. You have no idea.
Yeah.
I am so glad you brought that up. It's totally something that's outside my comfort zone, but the whole call out is outside of everyone's comfort zone right now. We know the traditional style of NHRA drag racing is you qualify and you race based on how the bracket and how the ladder sets up. But I think that it's really important for NHRA as a whole to take the step forward. I know there's been a lot of reactions, some positive, some negative, but I think that this is an excellent way to test this format. And as a sport, we need to evolve. We can't be stagnant. We can't stay still, just like in business. So I think that this is a good next step. I think it's a great test to kind of showcase drivers' personalities a little bit. And for a driver like me, and I know a lot of other drivers out there, it's totally outside our comfort zone. But I think that's good because I think in the long run, that's healthy. And you're going to see our personalities start to come forward, especially when our competitive nature comes out, when you might win round one and you have to go out there at the top end and immediately call out someone in round two. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I know the drivers are going to love it. And, it's going to be the fans ultimately at the end of the day are really going to soak it all in.
I think we need to be stretched as a sport at times, right? I think we have to be challenged. And I don't ever want to see many of drag racing's rich traditions go away. I think it would be a tragedy if this cannot become the norm. Nobody wants this to become the norm. But I do think that we have to stretch ourselves a little bit, try some new things, and especially in this day and age when there's so much competition for our attention and for our fan base's attention, let's give them something different every once in a while. And maybe you can win someone over this weekend because of something you say on the top end or your reaction. I think the moment that I'm most excited about won't be on the racetrack. I cannot wait to see the human reactions from yourself, and the entire list, the 7 other drivers involved. I can't wait to see the reaction of whomever Steve Torrence has to call out. And I actually feel bad for Steve because he's been kind of painted a villain in our sport, right? I think it's namely because of how much he's won. 4-time champion, 51 wins, a real world beater in our sport. There's no doubt about it. But he's the guy that's going to have to really he's going to have to kind of stick his neck out, right? And I think he'll set the tone for the entire deal. Like if he goes for the jugular with his call out, I think we'll see everybody kind of fall in line. Are you getting any sort of pressure, Justin, from NHRA? Has anybody been in your ear? Has there been any coaching or encouragement from the powers that be? Like, hey man, get up there and, tell us what you think, let it all hang out. Are you hearing anything like that? Or are they just kind of leaving you to your own devices?
No, not necessarily, but I don't think it needs to be said. I think it's self-explanatory. I think when they come up and tell us, okay, this is what you need to do, we know kind of what comes along with that. And, nothing is going to be set up. They're going to let us be ourselves like they should. But at the same time, we all know why this is being done. This is being done because it's good for the sport. It's good for the fans. And frankly, we need some drama. We need a little bit more of excitement just to get the races going in that direction, to get the fans into it. So I think, like you said, Steve is in a very interesting position here because he sets the tone for everyone else. First of all, whoever he picks, it's like, and I think it was mentioned yesterday in that interview, it's like when you're out playing dodgeball or playing basketball in the schoolyard, right? And you want to be first or you want to be picked last, and how does that make you feel, right? It's the same way. So I know that from a driver's perspective, if you're the one who's going to be called out first, it's not going to sit very well with you. And it's really going to set the tone for everyone else in the rest of the day. So I'm excited to see everyone's reactions, and everything you see up there, nothing's been told to us. It's all going to be sincere. So even for me, it's going to come as a surprise. So I'm excited about it. And
I think that's what that's what our community needs. We need these real human moments, right? Because by and large, the sport of drag racing has spent a lot of time talking about 10,000 or whatever the number is now, 12,000, 11,000 horsepower, 300 miles an hour, header flames, hellfire and brimstone. We've put a lot of our eggs in that basket. We do slow-mo, tire shake replays, right? We talk about clutch timers. We talk about fuel flow. And that's great for the hardcores. That's fantastic for those of us that care about those type of things. But you got to paint a little wider swath when it comes to growing the sport of drag racing. And that's seeing good guys and bad guys, heroes and villains, creating connections with people. And I think we're going to have an opportunity this Saturday and Friday night, actually, when the call-outs actually happen. Man, we're gonna build some fan bases and probably create some rivalries that exist maybe forever, if at least the rest of the season in the next few races, and certainly on Sunday. But I'm hoping for years to come, this may be where we see drag racing's Lakers and Celtics come about. Right? This may be where we see some of those things develop, and I'm genuinely excited about it. From a business perspective, I'll throw this back to you, Jim. One of the things we heard yesterday on the NHRA virtual press conference, the Zoom call they hosted, that I thought was interesting, they're recognizing there's 8 people involved. Most weekends when they roll into an event, my goodness, they've got 20 top fuel cars, 20 funny cars, 20 pro stock. There's a lot of ground to cover. And if you're going to try to be at all fair and balanced, you've got to spread it around. What they said yesterday is they're excited about the opportunity to focus their energy on 8 people, much condensed group of people. How important is that to you? Like from the perspective of a sponsor, I heard the phrase perhaps, and I've never heard this before, these cars are going to be shown from burnout to shutdown. And I thought, wow, how much does that mean to some of these sponsors? I mean, is that something that resonates with you, Jim, and Phillips Connect?
Well, of course, it's more TV time, which is great, but just to be part of the show, it's a huge honor, and we kind of inherited that, with Justin and how he did last year, and so far how we started out, but it's exciting, but I would have loved to have done this, back in the 90s, in the 2000s when I was with WWF. And can you imagine, the Force and the Hoffmans and all this stuff? So I keep thinking now that I'm like getting a handle on this could be a lot of fun, So getting these top fuel guys, and I don't know a lot of the top fuel guys, obviously, like Justin does. But, when I was racing, anything, you have these little staging battles, who you wanted to battle with and you wanted to, pay back or whatever. And, And then there's qualifying on top of it, right? So there's the serious, you still have to qualify. You got to think of the big picture. But this is entertainment, and you can see from the ratings on some of these reality shows, this is where it's coming from. So could we add a little excitement, a few viewers that we didn't have before, and get us a lot of good press. And Justin, he doesn't need to put his political hat on for Phillips Connect, so he can be the bad guy if he wants to be. So we put no pressure on him. But I just can't imagine him being a bad guy. But we'll see what happens.
No, I don't think he's got it in him. I really don't. From your perspective, Justin, I mean, is that something that's hearing the NHRA say things like star building, and that they're trying to, they recognize that it's time, because to Jim's point, the sport of drag racing is ready. I think we are waiting for the next Al Hoffman, for the next John Force, for the next Whit Bazemore, for the next Jim Epler, for these stars of yesteryear that had big personalities, that had big persona. The door's wide open. There's tons of opportunity. And I really think that there's an opportunity, whether it's you, Justin, or one of the other 7 drivers, a superstar could be born this weekend. I truly believe it. Do you kind of sense that? I mean, it feels like there is a real opportunity ahead of us.
Oh yeah, there's a great opportunity ahead of us to not only cement our place in NHRA history, but to make our presence felt. And when I say that, I mean, yeah, it's an opportunity to go out there and win the race, but it's also about how you win the race that really cements your legacy. When you go back to guys like Jim, to guys like John Force, Al Hoffman, the guys that had the big personalities, Gary Selzy, right, who was an absolute blast to watch race and a blast to watch on TV. I think that it sets the tone for NHRA drag racing, and there is an opportunity for the youth of the sport to kind of step into that role and help the sport itself grow. And I really like the trajectory, the way the NHRA platform has been growing in the direction they're going in. But I mean, from creating stardom, this is the place to get it, right? We have an opportunity as drivers, young, old, middle-aged, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of zeros at the end of that check, and make no mistake about it, we all want to win it. So we're all going to be polite, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for each driver out there. But I know I speak for all the drivers when I say we're not scared of each other, and we can't be scared of each other. We need to go out there and cement our place in history, and there's a huge opportunity for that this weekend. Because
there can only be one first, right? Whoever wins the first ever all-star call-out, to your point, is going to have a place in drag racing history, and we'll be talking about it for a long, long, long time to come. Well, Justin, Jim, thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I genuinely appreciate your time. I'm looking forward to seeing you both this weekend. I want to ask one more thing of you, Jim, before I let you guys go. We've talked about sponsorships. You mentioned bringing the WWE to the sport many years ago. Do you feel that this is an opportunity to further drive home Phillips Connect, and any sponsor for that matters? Your relationship, do you see it as sponsoring Justin Ashley, or do you see it as sponsoring a Top Fuel dragster? Because I love hearing that you're toting Justin around a trade show, the biggest trade show of your industry this weekend. I think that's something that I almost always get this thing headed towards a self-help thing, but I think this is something that racers that are trying to get a sponsor, whether it's for their weekend bracket car or for their own Top Fuel program, need to hear. Do you see your relationship as much with a human being and an endorsement, a brand ambassador, as you do the sponsorship of a race car?
No, in fact, I wished he was in a funny car, quite frankly. But so this
that's
is
how little. But is that
no.
evidence that you sponsor, your relationship is with Justin Ashley?
Oh,
correct?
No question, yeah. Absolutely, and just. And he's shown, we had a conversation early on, and I explained to him what I was looking for. And, I was looking for basically how I did it, in the beginning, and how we kind of built it through B2B relationships and understanding, the product that you're going to represent. And, he took it to heart. He's come to our company events, and he's learned about our business. He was at this trade show, for 3 solid days, and understanding the business. So it's not just talking about it on TV in an interview. It's we've got really good our customers, and he understands what we do. So we are in it for the long haul, with Justin, and where Phillips is a family. It's almost 100 years old. The Phillips Connect part is only about 5 years old, but the Phillips family, so he's become part of our family. So we're behind him, win or lose. Obviously everybody loves to win, but like I tell him, we find good, and even when he doesn't do as well, and we still have a good time, and and take care of the business side of it.
Well, we certainly appreciate what you guys are doing for the sport, supporting one of our store's sports rising stars. Thank you guys very much. Get back to work. I'll see you at the Gator Nationals, guys. Thanks, Justin.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim. Best of luck,
Wes.
buddy.
See you guys
Thank
soon.
you.
Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a minute here and remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by our friends and the racers over at Elite HP, the world leader in used race cars, racing engines, parts, and tools. Located in Fort Worth, Texas, Elite HP is operated by real deal drag racers with over 100 years of combined racing experience who can steer you in the right direction for all your racing needs, whether it's a turnkey pro mod, a set of pro jacks, a toolbox, or something in between. Check out the entire inventory at www.elitehp.com. JT, man, I think we should get a check from NHRA. Should we get a kickback? I'm feeling like we've talked about this freaking Pep Boys All-Star call out as much as anybody alive. I don't know that anybody's talked about it more than us.
Yep, that's true. Yep.
We need like a kickback. I think we need to get a promo code or something. Don't you think?
I love promo codes.
Do you use them? Like whenever you listen to a podcast and you hear a promo code or whatever, do you use it?
Yeah, I
do too.
If I'm looking for that product, and then it's like, oh, well, here's my chance to buy that product. If I've been wanting that product for a month or so, and then I'm like, oh well, shit, here's my time.
10% off or whatever. Yeah. Save $5. I think that's like the next thing to arrive in drag racing is more of that, like kind of ambassador programs and affiliate programs. I mean, you see it in every other industry.
GoPro about gets me every time.
Yeah, they do a great job.
Because I'll open the email, I'm like, oh, that looks cool. $200 off right now.
I bought the new GoPro Hero 10. I'm excited. I'm going to mess with it this weekend at the Gators, one-handed or whatever, but I'm looking forward to using it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce our next guest here as we close out hour 2 of the Wes Buck Show. Top Fuel star, rising star, I don't know that we've seen a more impressive Top Fuel debut than that of Josh Hart. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Hart. Clap, JT. You're always late on the clap. I'm clapping by myself. It's unbelievable. Josh, welcome to the show, man. This feels long overdue. I appreciate the time. I hope you're doing well.
Thank you for having me, and happy to finally talk to you.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to have you on here. We've exchanged emails a handful of times, but it's great to finally connect here on the show.
Josh does a good job with emails too, and your email blasts and your press releases. They're great, man.
But we got to shout out Elon Warner.
Yeah.
We got to shout out the guy, right?
Yeah.
This dude's connecting dots in the background, isn't he? Though, right? He's a great guy. What a huge ambassador for the sport of drag racing. He does a great job, and I'm glad that you're working with him. Josh, headed into the Gator Nationals this weekend. I'm just curious, like hearing all this talk about the Pep Boys All-Star call out. You ran a limited schedule in 2021, so I think you've got a team that and are a driver and have a car that certainly belong in this mix. I mean, all this talk and all this buzz. Does it make it even more enticing, something that you want to be in that scene next year? Is this becoming like one of your checklist items? Like, hey, we've got to make sure that we're in this program for 2023?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was almost heartbreaking that we didn't make the top 10 because I knew we should have and could have and would have. But here we are, and we're planning on doing a full schedule this year. So game on. Do you think,
from a multitude of different reasons, we were just talking about this with Jim Epler and Justin Ashley, how valuable do you think this thing could be for you as a team owner for your program moving forward? I mean, there seems to be a tremendous amount of buzz. All indications are that the local media there in Gainesville have really rallied around this deal. The track is expecting a big turnout of local media. It's all the talk across the internet. It really seems to have our sport buzzing. Is that exciting for you from a business standpoint of what this could represent and just the trajectory that it could put our sport on or continue?
Yeah, no question. I mean, it's huge, and the sport needs it. A little more drama would definitely benefit NHRA, to say the least.
Do you feel, we talked about this briefly with Justin, and I've sensed it since this whole thing started being talked about. This is a pretty uncomfortable thing for this group of people to pick who they want to race. That's just something that they've not. I think they would have been much happier with a random chip draw or anything, but this really puts the onus on these men and women to say what they think, wear their heart on their shirt sleeve. I mean, is there a fan in you that's excited to see how this unfolds and who Steve Torrence calls out and who Brittany Force calls out and vice versa?
No, I'm over the fan thing. I've met all of my heroes and I've got my opinion, my real opinion now. And I would have no problem calling out somebody. I mean, everybody wants to be the sheriff. We can all be friends in the pits, but when we're on that starting line, we want to rip each other's throats out, and I'm good with it.
So do you think that we'll see that show through? Do you think we'll see what's the word? People being very pointed about it, where it's like, hey, I know the car that I have a good track record against, the driver I have a good track record against, or I know a guy who historically struggles or has been struggling. Do you think we'll see it be that cut and dry where all the call outs are going to be based on, hey, I want to win, I don't care about how it's perceived by the fan base?
I hope so. I mean, like I said, I think that that's what it needs. And, if there's a little bit more games on the starting line and if there's things that are happening, on social media to get the buzz going, I think it would only benefit NHRA.
I can't agree more. What do you think about it we've talked about this and labored over it, but I don't think it's, I'm glad we are, because one of the things that we've heard time in and time out, or day in and day out throughout the last several years, is providing ROI to your sponsors. Are you excited about the opportunity, just all this buzz and all the press and media attention this event has seems to be getting?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last year when I heard about the amount of viewers that were watching the Gator Nationals, that was pretty cool. So if it can grow from that number, the 1.4 million or whatever, it's going to be a great return on investment for anybody that gets involved. I know you're planning on running all the races this year, R&L carriers alongside for the full tour. I mean, what's that experience been like for you, getting a major corporate sponsor? What's the hospitality? Is there a B2B component for that as well? Yeah, everything with R&L is B2B. I mean, they wanted to make it very clear that they weren't paying me a bunch of money just to run my race car. They're trying to add to their ever-growing workforce. They're 17,000 strong, and they need more drivers. They need more clerical workers. They need dock workers, fork truck workers. So this is strictly a recruiting effort for them, and my job is to be the conduit.
Obviously, you headed into year 2, doing the full tour has been a successful thing for you guys, right?
Yeah, I'm excited. It is my first full tour. Last year was so disappointing because we wanted to do it so bad, and we had some health concerns kind of midstream, and we had so many things that was going on. It kind of tarnished a couple of opportunities, but hey, I stand behind my decisions, and I think I made an educated one, and we're in it for the long haul with the team. So live to race another day.
Hey, it's all you can do, right? Is onward and upward. It's great to see. What do you point to when you think about what seems to be the perceived health and wellness of Top Fuel and funny car racing right now? We're seeing the biggest fields that we have in a long time. What do you point to if you had to name something that seems to be driving the bus on that?
I love seeing the super team's demise. Justin Ashley is awesome. We're trying to set the example. I think Torrance, obviously sets the bar high, but they do it right. It's a single independent deal, and everybody is trying to, search for funding. But once you find it, it's pretty awesome when you can see all the competition come to life. What
do you think? Do you think we'll see that turn back around? I mean, will we see a day in the future, in a few years from now, where with DSRs back 3-4 cars, or do you think that this is kind of the new path, the smaller independent operations?
I hope not. I hope it doesn't ever go back to the way it was. I think it's got to evolve, and the more money that they pump into independent teams, I think that the sponsors themselves would be, foolish to do that. They're going to get a better return on investment to partner with the younger, hungrier crowd. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
No, I can't. I mean, it's hard to argue with, right? I mean, because it was believed for the longest time that if you wanted to go out here and be successful, you had to be part of one of those conglomerates. Obviously, guys like Justin Ashley, the Torrances, there have been people that have defied that and been the exception to the rule, and the tide has turned, it would seem. But it is interesting. We talked about this earlier with Freddie Turza from VP Racing Fuels, just about the ever rising cost of all this stuff. One of the things that we've heard, it's all the news right now, gas prices. I mean, as a team owner, staring down the barrel of these diesel prices, I mean, how will that impact your program? I mean, is this something that's, I mean, obviously you're committed to the full tour, but how do you weather this storm?
I think you just do what you say you're going to do. You know, these partnerships that I've built are all based on B2B relationships. So as long as we're keeping up our end, we trust that they'll keep up their end, and we'll be fine. You know, and I hope that for everybody else that's out there, just do what you say you're going to do, and then we'll make it through it together, you know?
I mean, from your mouth to God's ears, that's all we can hope for, right? Headed into Gainesville, do you think that there's an opportunity for you as like a dark horse, like in many other teams? I think there's 20 plus cars on the list. There's only 8 guys and gals involved in this shootout. Do you think there's an opportunity for some of the teams that aren't involved to focus on winning the Gator Nationals versus winning this shootout? I mean, do you almost, because that seems to be a question that I've heard a lot the last couple of weeks. As exciting as it is to have the opportunity to win twice in one weekend, there's also a lot on your plate. You're able to go into the Gator Nationals this weekend with a singular focus. I mean, do you think that gives you any sort of advantage or edge where you're not having to fight that battle or worry about that?
No, not at all. I mean, last year they called me the spoiler and the wild card and all this other stuff. So I just go in there and focus and try to do my job on the tree. I've got a great group of magicians behind me, so we're there to win. We don't mess around. We want to win every race. So whether I was in it or whether I was not,
makes no difference to you. Yeah. What are you doing? I mean, right now, that's been the story of the last couple seasons is drivers, reaction times continuing to fall. We talked about that last week with Mike Salinas. I mean, what do you make of that right now? Because it seems like the competition on the starting line is as fierce as it's maybe ever been. You're obviously in that category as a guy that's a fierce competitor, obviously, but a great lever. I mean, do you feel that pressure, and do you sense that? Do you enjoy that there's so much onus on the driver's shoulders these days?
No, truthfully. So my most nervous rattling part is when I turn that lane and see 40,000 people looking at you, you know. So, but as soon as Ron Douglas fires that thing up, Kickstart My Heart from Motley Crue starts playing, and I just do my thing. So it doesn't bother me.
Well, that's a good thing, man. So do you have will R&L carriers, do you guys, your B2B relationship, is that based on, you know, you mentioned recruitment, but do you have like guests coming in at a lot of these events?
Not necessarily. No, I mean, they are very driven to, you know, stay very dedicated to their message. Their message is they're just trying to, you know, fulfill all the needs in their own business, you know. So great group of people. It's easy to talk about because I use their services and I genuinely believe in their program. So I couldn't have asked for a better partner.
Well, why don't you tell us about it a little bit? Because I mean, to be honest, I'm not that familiar. Like, what is the unique like value proposition of R&L carriers right now?
So, you know, they are a global logistics company, family owned. They treat everybody like gold internally. They care about, you know, the morale internally. They really work hard to take care of their people. But bottom line is they can ship anything, anywhere, anytime. They compete with FedEx and UPS and all those other names. But they're fabulous at what they do. And the moral backbone of the company is something I really believe in.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was genuinely curious. I'm going, you know what? And truck drivers, it's such a underserved group of people, right? I mean, I think that we don't really appreciate as a society what these trucks, these men and women beating up and down the highways and byways of America mean to the world. Right. And it's for me personally, I get a kick out of seeing a trucking company on the side of a drag car, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for a little bit of your time on a Wednesday afternoon. It's been long overdue to get you on the show, Josh. I'm looking forward to seeing you connect and shaking hands this weekend at the Gator Nationals. I wish you best of luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time, and I enjoy watching your show.
Hey, thanks, brother. We'll see you soon, buddy. Take care.
Take care.
Well, JT, what do you think, buddy? We're burning into what is this, hour 3 right now? What's on your hat?
PXG.
What's that?
It's a golf company.
Oh, really? What do they make? Clubs, shirts, hats?
Yep.
Didn't you just get some new clubs?
I did.
Did you?
I'm pretty excited about it. But there's snow on the ground here, so.
Is it snowing in Kirksville, Missouri?
Well, it snowed. Yeah, it snowed Sunday night. Didn't realize it was going to. And now I guess we have a winter storm coming in tomorrow night. I'm over it, man. Maybe I'll just move down there with you.
Yeah, you should. Hey, man, I don't think they've got like a wall up or anything yet. You never know about Texas. They'll build a wall. They're not at all afraid to start a project and finish it, man. I wouldn't be surprised.
I do like, I mean, when I go to visit you, I think it's really cool how proud Texans are of Texas.
It's a unique place, dude. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Like, you hear about it, but then you get down here and you experience it. And there is a sense of community and sense of pride down here that I've never seen, really, honestly, anywhere in my life, man. It's incredible. It really is incredible. And I don't think you have the tape for the after hours music, do you? So let's just dive into it, dude. You got a cocktail ready?
Not really. I've got a ball game.
A little bit of nitro. Oh, you got to go coach a baseball game. All right. Well, let's dive into some questions questions and comments here in the what do we got here? He got stuff too. What's Oakley money is fine. I'm trying to dive through some of these comments here.
People were asking like how the call out worked. You know, like how you got in.
Okay, so here I've got all that, right? I've got all that. You want me to run through it? I can. Yeah, all right, let's do that. So, basically, the way this works, this is a unique specialty race that features 8-star drivers competing for big money and a memorable victory before eliminations take place for the Gator Nationals. So it's a classic race within a race type of situation. The people involved. I'm going to go through this. These are I think they're the top 8 in
I believe that's correct.
From last year, right?
Yeah, the top 8 from last year.
Yeah, top 8 from last year. So Torrance will make the first selection to call out his opening round opponent, getting his choice of the 7 other drivers before the first round of qualifying in Gainesville at 5 p.m. on Friday. Brittany Force would get the next pick if she were not called out by Torrance, followed by Salinas until all first-round matchups are set. The driver who makes the quickest winning run in the first round will get to get the chance to select their semifinal opponent, automatically locking in the other matchup. So that's a little bit of a ripple.
Yeah, I didn't know that actually.
I wasn't actually aware of that either. First round takes place at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, March 12th, with the semifinals set to follow at 1:30 p.m. The final round is slated for 3:15 p.m. The Fox Broadcast Network will have coverage starting at 2 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, March 12th. Really cool deal. Over $130,000 up for grabs. 80,000 going to the winner. Man, this is, I think these numbers, I wish they were like, obviously we all wish they were $100 million or whatever, but one step in the right direction.
Yeah, that's
right?
a start though. I mean, we complain about it constantly. So that's a start and we work from there, right?
I mean, in my opinion, it's all you can really do. I mean, I think that you have to, these events, and you also have to protect yourself because the expectations are going to get higher every year, right? So if you start out with a $200,000, or if you start out with $250,000, I mean, where are you going to go from there? You're going to do $500,000? You're going to do $1 million? I mean, hopefully.
Yes, Wes.
Yeah, no, yeah. But I mean, I do think that's something. Don't you agree that there have been times in the past, because you don't want to you come out with a big event, and what's worse than going the wrong direction, right? I think you got to set yourself up for sustainable growth. You don't want to come out and pay more money than you can afford, or pay an amount of money that's not sustainable over the long haul, because the last thing you want to do is come out this year 2 and be like, well, hey, last year we raced for 80,000. This year we're racing for 40.
Right? And even if the payout is 3 or 4 times as what it is to go race down the road, we're going to complain about it because that race paid X amount of dollars last year, only paying this much this year. So we're going to go over here and race for even less money just because we're pissed off. And I mean, it's a horrible way to look at it, but that's exactly what happens.
It is exactly what happens, man. And I mean, I don't know. I wish that the numbers were higher, but I genuinely feel like this is as many new and exciting things as we've seen out of the NHRA maybe ever. right? I mean, this is some new thinking. This is clearly some outside of the box thinking that I can't help but believe is going to pay dividends. Maybe it doesn't happen overnight, but there's a lot riding on this weekend. Like we've talked about, Brett Kepner was saying on the Going Bracket Racing podcast last night, drag racing is in its heyday right now. I think this could be a real, not that we need a turning point, but this could be a jump off moment. This could be where the entire sports, we've been talking about the proverbial next level for a long time. This could be it, or a step towards it.
I agree. And hopefully everybody, like we said, leans into it, embraces it, has fun with it, be the bad guy. Who cares? I don't care how they do it. I don't care if you got to talk to somebody in the pits before you go out there and be like,
right,
hey man, I might be a dick to you. I don't care, but put on a show for everybody, and I do think that these call outs are going to resonate throughout the rest of the year.
I do too. I think that whatever happens
good
Saturday, it is, really man. Good. That's how it starts. And I think that I see this as the producer of a reality TV show, like putting the bottle of Patron in front of everybody on Real World. How like conveniently there's booze everywhere on every episode of like Real World. Yeah. Right. Yep. They're doing that on purpose, right? I mean, they're trying to they need a catalyst.
Yep.
So let's get a drinking game started.
Well, and you want someone over here, spitting some truth, right?
And you've got to get some truth serum in them sometimes, right?
That's right. Tell somebody over here what they actually think about them.
And I honestly think that they recognize that the racers aren't going to do, and kudos to NHRA for this, right? We love to pick on them. We love to bash on them, but they can't wait for one of these racers to do it. They can't wait for the Cale Yarborough. They can't wait for the helmet throw or the fist fight. They've got to try to find a way to inject some enthusiasm, some excitement, some drama to this deal. And I think whatever unfolds on Saturday will, like you're saying, T, we're going to be talking about it the rest of the year.
Oh, yeah.
And every time the finalists or some really talked about first round matchup line up throughout the rest of the year, we're going to hear about it.
And they're going to want some revenge. And it would be really awesome if they had them mic'd up and caught everything for 24 hours at least, if they're going to have some type of show down the road, because I mean, that's where you get the drama. It isn't season one, right? In these reality shows, it's not season one. It's after season one when everybody watches the replays and the confession booth or whatever the hell they call it, and they figure out
the confessional,
their
man.
best friend over here has been talking shit on them all season, but behind their back. And then,
I didn't think about that.
And then they go fight in the reunion. Yeah. And then that carries over to season 2. Now you have these two people who don't like each other. And, I mean, that's just how reality TV works, right?
1,000,000%. And I hadn't thought about it, but you're right. So many of those things, they don't happen face to face. They hear about it later. So the NHRA is going to have a tall order of trying to capture as much of that as they can, because the real drama likely won't happen when everybody's up there on stage.
No, it'll happen back in the pits.
It'll happen back in the pits.
Dinner that night or at the bar. How many times? Oh, I can't tell you how many times I've sat in a bar and talked shit on someone, and then the next morning I'm like, oh shit, I hope that doesn't get back to him, but it does. And the next week you're like, well, man, sorry, but it's true, but whatever,
Well, it's true though, right? And then the telephone game, because that's what's going to happen as well. And that's something that we experienced back at the World Series of Pro Mod out at Vandermeer Speedway, was the telephone game. I heard so-and-so ran this. We had the scoreboards off. For those that don't know, during our big 100,000 win Pro Mod race that we did in conjunction with the Vandermeers, we would run the majority of the race with the scoreboards off. And all of our testing and all of our shakedown runs were done with the scoreboards off. So there was all this mystery as to who was running what. And the telephone game was hilarious. Every time a car would make a pass, JT's phone would light up, my phone would light up. Everybody's like, hey, I heard that Stevie Jackson ran 592. And it's
you go. But Stevie leaned into that too. He was like, he did. Tell you what, I'm gonna, he would start a rumor about himself.
He did multiple times. He started rumors about himself.
And I thought that was hilarious, which, I love Stevie for shit like that.
Well, he's a guy you can count on to deliver those type of things.
Right.
But I mean, I think that's going to be a big part of this, is what's said away from the stage, what's said after hours, what's said via the telephone game, right? Because
and that's
someone in the pits is going to say And some of these groups are real tight knit, right? Like the Josh Hart camp, real tight knit group.
Yep.
Steve Torrance's team, that's like a family. Many of them live together. They will.
Yeah.
They'll probably be pretty tight-lipped, but there is going to be somebody who's had a couple drinks Friday night, right, in the pits when the pit party starts to commence, and they're going to be walking around and, well, Steve said he was going to kick right, and then it begins.
Let's just send Dion around the pits and see what he can catch.
Now, that's what we should do. Just bebop around the pits and try to find somebody or create a confessional. I was just thinking to myself, could we build a little confessional?
That'd be awesome.
And bring people in there and, agree that none of this is going to air until after the fact. I don't know. It would be very, very
you have
interesting.
to take 2 beer bongs and 5 shots before you go in the confessional.
Well, and you know what? Kevin Stevenson, we need to send this guy a check because he gives us some great comments. Ask Robin Roberts from No Prep Kings fame about the confessionals. Robin went from preacher to the devil with 1 episode. But don't you think that's proof positive that this is needed? Because we could see Justin Ashley, somebody who's kind of like boy next door, super clean cut, good old, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, he could become a bad guy overnight. He could become a villain this quick. I'm telling you, Steve Torrance, he's the one who I think has the most pressure, which clearly is a position that he's comfortable with. He's comfortable having a lot of pressure, but him being the first one, he's the one who's going to set the tone. If he calls out, because what's the honorable thing to do?
It's the whole 0 to 0, right? Yeah. It's calling your shot. Okay.
So if you were Steve Torrance, who would you call out? I'm just curious.
Shit, I don't know. I mean, I think you had it pretty well correct earlier.
I think we do too.
With your rundowns. But it's the classical 0 to 0, call your shot. And if you miss that shot, hey, you want the ball, right? At the end of the game, but you miss that shot. Yeah, you're 0 now. I mean, really.
But I mean, because I think that the thought process, and just to play this out for fun, is that do you pick the fastest car, like your toughest competition, because you're going to have to get them out of the way? Like, do you go, you know what, Brittany Force, Dave Grubnick, they're going to go fast. The conditions are going to be likely good, favorable for some. Obviously the track's going around. You've got a built-in. I mean, and don't think those things don't cross your mind.
I get it.
Right? Because I mean, have you ever in a golf situation?
I'd rather see someone else take that guy out, to be honest with you, or gal. I personally.
Right. I mean, I'm just saying, is someone going to capitalize on weakness or perceived weakness? You would want to lay up. I would want to lay up too. Like, I'm going, who's struggling? Who's been going out first round this year? Who's been not running very well? That's who I'm.
I mean, you're there to win the damn race, so why wouldn't you? I mean, that's the way I look at it.
It's fun, man. Well, hey, real quick, let's throw it to the comments. JT, I know you've got a basketball game that you've got to catch, and we're down here to the end of the show here. We're in the halfway point of our 3rd hour. Thank you guys all so much for being a part of this. I want to shout out all of our sponsors, of course, the team at Stroud Safety, as well as Redline Oils, Elite HP, and of course, the gang at Flow Racing, which will be, obviously a long-term partner of ours, flowracing.com/drag illustrated. Make sure you log on to there and get yourself a $149 subscription to all the drag racing you could ever consume, man. I'm still just totally shook by the fact that you can watch this stuff live. The fact that you can watch NHRA this weekend and not have to go to the deal is kind of unbelievable, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but I sure do remember having to go to every race if I wanted to watch them.
Which I think, I mean, I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a fun
right?
debate. I think that's a fun one, man.
It is. And I'm a firm believer in the fact that I get it that it more people see it. So maybe you get more fans that way. But, man, if you can drive 3 hours and go watch the race,
you want to
encourage in person,
how far away do you think we are from blackouts? Because I think that's something that could happen. I really do. I think that's something that could happen where, like, just let's say with the Gator Nationals, they draw a map, they draw a ring around 100-mile radius of Gainesville Raceway Park, Gainesville Raceway.
You're not tuning in. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It could be, we're so far behind most other sports, unfortunately.
Right. And blackouts have been going on in stick and ball sports for ages.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. And
I mean, I wouldn't be all surprised to see
talk about pissing people off,
Oh man,
it
was so funny. You would see people overnight, and honestly, it may be something to consider, because you could almost give people something else to be mad about, instead of being mad that they got to pay to watch. Be mad, right? That it's blacked out in their area. Kevin Stevenson with another good one. Donald Long and Fletcher Cox going back and forth with a meme war on social media. What's your take on that deal, Ben? It's been pretty fun to watch. Almost as fun as the race was to watch.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. The race was kind of brutal, but so it started out as a legitimate beef, right? So now I don't even know, are we beefing? Are we just joking? Have we hugged a little bit? Have we high-fived or something? And now we're just, now it's funny, so we're going back and forth. I don't know, but there's been some good ones about it,
Oh, there's been some really good memes. I can't get a read on it. I can't tell if it's made for TV fun or if it's legit. It felt like it was legit initially.
It was,
and maybe things have changed since then. But when it first started, it seemed extremely legitimate.
Yeah,
I don't know about now.
Fletcher was mad at first, for sure, right? And then Donald fired back with him because he had one run, that went well. And I don't know if you can hang your hat on that, I mean, if we're sitting at home watching 6-0 index class and at 9 o'clock in front of this packed stand, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough
thing.
thing.
No, the whole thing is.
Freezing. I don't know, man. The Hot Rod Dave, I think they are running with it now. Yeah. I think Dave's right. It feels to me like it started off genuine, the rivalry between the drama between Fletcher Cox, NFL superstar, and Donald Long, but it does feel like it's starting to get it's all fun and games at this point. But it's proof positive that drama is a difference maker. If we could see a little bit of this, I mean, and I don't want to see manufactured, made for TV drama, brewing within the NHRA, but it just goes to show you that this is the type of stuff that gets people talking. I mean, I've had multiple calls,
radio
texts
on the map.
It is, man. All the drama,
videos, and calling people out, and the cast of characters that was back then. We've talked about it a million times. That the drama that those guys would create during the week, going back and forth and mouthing each other, made us tune in on the weekend.
Oh, 100%, man. And I think I honestly miss it. And that was, but what Donald had way back when was, and I think he still has it now. Obviously, the situation with Fletcher Cox is a proof positive. Willing dance partners, people that are willing to play that role. And that's what we're going to see. That's going to be the challenge this weekend. Are these guys willing to play that role and live with the consequences?
There's been several promoters over the years that have tried to pick fights with Donald just to put themselves on the map.
Yeah. Because they know he'll play along.
I mean, they know that they're going to get berated and called whatever names and whatever else. But it's kind of like what you selling your soul, to put yourself on the map or your race on the map or be talked about. So, from his fan base.
100%, man. 100%. All right, buddy. Well, hey, if we don't have any more questions from the comments here, I say we can call it a day, big dog, man. Another action-packed 2.5 hours, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's great.
That's crazy. Where are you headed this weekend? You're not coming to Gainesville? Or you got a golf tournament or something?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. I think my wife's going to make me work on the basement, which I've been working on for like 3 years or whatever. So.
Has it been that long since you guys moved?
Yeah.
My goodness. Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm genuinely looking forward to going to the Gators. I'm going to have a little bit of an abbreviated trip. That was the deal I made with the wifey, to not go down and re-injure myself or whatever. But
I'm going to have it on. I'm going to be paying attention.
I'm glad to hear that, man. I think we've managed to turn you into something of an NHRA fan. It took a while.
Crazy, right?
Whoever thought that would be the case?
I know.
I'm glad.
But I mean, this year has been fun to watch. Really has.
It really has, man.
Yep.
I think whenever you have this many cars, when you have 20 Top Fuel cars, you have 20 funny cars. Again, though, I don't think we're wrong. 20 Pro Stock cars. I really hope that the NHRA, amidst all this excitement that exists for fuel racing, which is new. It's a new thing. It's been a long time since I've been excited about fuel racing, to be honest with you, man. But I really hope that we don't completely glaze over the fact that, hey, we need to make sure that there's something sustainable operating in the background, right? And that there are other classes that are on the come up still that could be whatever the next, I mean, I've been saying it for a long time, man. I still believe, despite car count woes, I mean, if you look at the 8th mile scene, Midwest Drag Racing Series is doing extremely well. PDRA doing extremely well. In MCA, there's so many 8th mile Pro Mod cars right now. I mean, those races down at Bradenton late last year and early this year, 50, 60 cars showing up. There's a ton of movement and excitement and momentum amongst this part of drag racing. And I still believe, look at No Prep Kings, look at Street Outlaws, look at all this, door cars, baby. I mean, cars that still look like cars. The drivers on the left-hand side, they have suspension. They're wild and crazy. They're bouncing off the walls. I mean, I believe that they are the vehicle to take the sport of drag racing into the future. And I've been a big proponent of the quarter mile. I get it. There's safety issues. People get concerned about 2,700-pound cars going 250, 260 miles an hour. I get it. I understand it's cost prohibitive to race the quarter mile, but I've just really looked at it. Real cars that still look like cars, racing 1,320 feet, racing the quarter mile. This could be, and I believe it is, the universal language of drag racing. Pro Modified speaks to people, drag racing fans around the world. And for the NHRA to have had it at such a, where it was a couple of years ago, 30, 40, 50 cars, it was so exciting. And I felt like, man, they've got something here. This could be waiting in the wings, right? I'm never going to say the word affordable and then pro mod, but I mean, compared to nitro racing, right? It is affordable. And right. I just looked at that and I go, man, and to see where it is now, what a lost opportunity.
Well, if they would have gave him,
come back around.
If they would have gave him a little bit of love back then and a little bit of TV time, and maybe some of those guys could have kept their sponsors and kept racing, or maybe they would have felt like that they were wanted and not sold out. And I mean, I guess hindsight's 2020, right? But
yeah,
damn, man, I mean, everybody was screaming it from the rooftops, So I don't know.
It is interesting,
it's
man.
Not too late.
Hopefully it's not too late. That's for sure. Well, hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys all so much for being a part of this deal. Each and every Wednesday, we'll be back next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please come check it out, be a part of it. JT, I'll see you on the flip side, brother.
See you, man. Have a good one.